Side by Mr. Beat Down Boulevard.
You said that's so mad, bro. Are you okay?
I'm okay. I'm actually doing
right.
fine. I was thinking about singing it, but I'm like, I'm gonna need to put that same emphasis and respect on your name that I do on mine. You know,
Yeah, fair enough.
Which is what matters. But as
Mhm.
always, Beat Down. You know, we do have another week, another guest, another day, another play, and we're joined by yet again by the very also handsome, not under his bunk bed anymore, Mr. Koskin. How you
that's
doing,
right.
I'm doing great. I'm back home, in my little game room of sorts in my house, and
You
yeah,
take us
having
on a
good night.
tour.
Yeah,
No,
bro.
no,
Move the camera
shot,
around.
my camera. It'll be way too much effort to set my camera up again. So,
Oh, okay. Oh, is it?
unfortunately.
It's not a webcam.
It is, but it's like it's a pain, man. It does
I'm
not
hearing
fit well.
excuses.
Wow, bro. So you're not gonna MTV Cribs it? Eh?
I
That's
know, man.
crazy.
I am so
We
sorry.
we're even out here. You know, we'd like to give all the players that we have on a spotlight, and that was your chance, Costin. You threw it away, bro. But like, it's okay.
Okay.
Could have been so much more. But as always, let's move on to what we're going to talk about tonight here, gentlemen, which is we have another fantastic matchup for you all. Something we weren't necessarily expecting, but one to be more than welcome. It'll be AOE going up against ISU, previous UPL champions, up against the one and only Mrs. Sleeter girlfriend, the Robert Bobber of our time, man. This guy, there's so much I can say about him, but Beat Down, I'll let you start off.
Yeah, he's definitely a mainstay in amateur play. He's definitely been around the block, and he's played on a handful of teams. It seems like currently AOE Brady is the one he's sticking with. I think it was Hyper who made the joke that he's like one of the mercenaries of amateur. He'll play for whoever and will
Mhm.
generally improve the team he's on because he's definitely a really strong player in the mid lane. Even in games where whatever team he is on is not doing well, the dude always manages to stand out. And you have to imagine AoE Brady probably going to play towards him, especially with a good jungler like Clam. They have a really strong mid jungle 2v2 that I want to see them play towards.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things, right? That's and on the side of ISU, I find the same sort of precedent is also present there too, because considering the roster that we just saw, man, ISU they essentially don't necessarily try to base their or they don't necessarily try to base their overall play style around one specific player. It all comes down to the picks you can find to become so flexible as a team. But Koskinen, you have some personal experience with him as well.
I've played against ISU a lot. They're a very scrappy team. They like to take a lot of skirmishes, a lot of fights. They have very good players. True Dozers, like 1K LP last season. I know they have GFP playing over Hyper this game. So I like to see. I know that GFP is a lot more consistent than Hyper. He doesn't take as many like super aggro active plays. They may or may not throw the game. So it should be pretty good to see them be able to make some more consistent plays. And I think one of their best players is definitely Disconnector in the bot lane. And I know he's just really, really talented at carrying those late game team fights if he's on the hyper carry. I know I've seen him play some of the Jinx. He likes to play a lot of the diving champions, but he also brings out his pocket pick Ezreal, which he can 1v9 games on a lot of the time. And he played it in week 1 against AoE. So I'd like to see him bring that out again. It's really fun to watch him play it. So yeah, that's my opinion on what I brings to the table here.
Yeah, because as you just mentioned, Koskinen, in week number 1, these two teams did face off. Our week opener for UPL, it was a 2 across the board for ISU. But we're looking to see if they can continue with that exact same performance as the cliff here for last time as well, man. It was an extremely, extremely scrappy game, but with ISU taking a lot of coin flip fights. But at the end of the day, they did come out on top, like you mentioned, Koskinen, like to do. Even look at the compositions, bro. It's like you wouldn't think that like a Gangplank and Rumble bot wants to fight all the time, but nah, ISU made it happen. So shout out to them. Respects. But speaking of which, look at the Rumble pick. Considering now that Rumble is actually quite good in the meta, especially in the jungle. So I imagine, or I'm hoping, we might see it again. But these are all just hopes inside me. Speaking of picks, we do have the graphic for you all prepared by Radio Hypertension of another version of the disabled list. As we'll have him bring that up in just a second. Cause look at this here. Yeah. And across the board here, same stuff we've seen so far. If you all weren't familiar, Beatdown, take us through this.
I mean, just Ravi, say what you want me to say. Don't beat around the bush.
This guy caught me in 4K, bro, every single
Honestly,
time.
bro. That's what I do. I'm like the FBI out here.
This man's watching my computer right now, just watching me chill and eat anime, bro. All right. So look, a lot of this stuff is pretty standard. Jace, of course, has been having a bit of tune-ups. Rammus can still queue across the entire map and can slam down onto your house before you even know it. Gwen is new, and Viego is what beatdown?
Viego.
I swear that champion will never get enabled at this rate. He's
probably not, dude. Like
enabled for CELO finals, I think. I know that Gwen is actually enabled, but Viego is. I know no team has from him. He's been out for like what 2 months now, maybe longer.
Yep.
It's
he's not up for MSI either.
He's not.
No, he isn't. 11-9. He's still too buggy to be played. And that's what I'm worried about too. Who knows, man? And I think people are gonna forget how broken he is just because he hasn't seen any play.
Yeah, he's so strong.
According to plan, bro.
But not playable.
It's actually so sad because he is a really fun champion, quite flexible in where he can go. I've seen Viego being played mid, top, and jungle, right? So there's definitely a lot of varieties there. I have seen some degenerates play Viego support where there's max stun for, and no matter how telegraphed it is, it's hard. You can't do this. Stop it right now. Get some help. I don't want to see this in my games.
Yeah, but they're punishing Dodgers. because that's the problem.
That's a different conversation to have, though, with the whole punishing.
That's a lot to get into. That's
I had to throw it out because I'm salty.
Unfortunately, not the time.
I know you are.
It could be. It could be. Actually, it can't be. We're running out of time.
It's so unfortunate, right? But going back to the game here today, gentlemen, we've all listed reasons why both these teams are good and what kind of games you expect tonight. So with all that bearing in mind, let's go ahead and see our predictions right below us as to what we all have today. The 1-2-2-0 ISU AOE with a 2-1 Koskinen. Why?
I realized when I was watching the VODs that when they first played in week 1, that they had their coach, who was Diamond 3, play jungle into ISU, and Hyper was playing. And Hyper is, as you know, a 1 KLP challenger player. He's going to abuse a player who is not comfortable in the role. But this time, Clam is playing, and Clam is a challenger player, very good player. He was on Purdue in collegiate, and I have respect for him. So I think that AOE's players are really good, honestly. Not like some, like I think the top laners are pretty evenly matched. I think King Vex and perhaps match up to Disconnector. But I think Robbie Bob is like a really solid player. And with someone like Clam playing to him, I think he can definitely carry these games. So that's my opinion. I think that ISU is still really good. I think that they can easily take a game off if they get a lead when they need it. But I think that AOE will come out on top.
Yeah, I know, Beatdown. I know you have an opinion, but it doesn't matter right now because you're going to say whatever about it. It's okay. It's probably wrong, honestly. So
we'll see.
Fine. We'll leave you be.
We'll see.
Yeah, we will see. But because when my predictions comes out right as usual, I will be crowned king once again. So with that all being said, we'll pass it over to casters, Mr. Travesty and Rebel. I can't believe is a caster Fox. I think it's in a game number 1.
Thank you, Des, for breaking down everything as fantastic as always. My name is Travesty. I am joined here by Rebel Fox. Rebel, how are you doing today, man?
Been a fantastic week. I always excited for Fridays. I can't possibly speak enough to how Fridays make me feel. I just look forward to every single week getting to come back and do some more UPL. We're halfway through the split. Feels like we just started. We haven't gotten enough games, so we got to get some more games under our belt, man. It just has to happen.
I understand, man. Look, we're all excited for Fridays, man. We get some good quality games over here over on the Upsurge channel. You know, Twitch chat, they get to see the ever so ravishing Rebel thoughts here. And it is just a fantastic day indeed for everybody, especially since we're leading into the weekend. So we jump started real quick today. AOE Brady taking on Illinois State University. This is going to be a fun one. We got reoccurring champions taking on some up-and-comers. We've got a bunch of different storylines that are kind of meeting up together inside of this game here.
I also like when we started the beginning of the split, I looked at this AOE Brady roster and I was really impressed because of some of the players that they had on it. And they came out in week 1 and just kind of got bodied by Illinois State, unfortunately, in a quick 2-0. But they've since really done a good job making sure to bring themselves back, bring themselves up to a 2-1 to make sure that they're securely in second place here within the Ocean Division. And now, after a little bit of time together, a little bit of time of development, they've been able to stir a little bit. Maybe now they can come back against this Illinois State roster and actually take at least a game, if not end up taking the series altogether.
Yeah, they're looking like they're trying to body somebody here, all right? They got their revenge. It's the salty run back, as we know it over in the FGC, man. You get knocked back one time, run it back through the loser's bracket, come on back through. We're in that second half. They're looking to rebound, and they're looking to try and take control over everything inside of this group. And beating the team that's 3-0 right now definitely is a statement to be made here from the side of AOE Brady. And, you know, a lot of these guys very hungry for that dub.
That they are. I think, importantly, something to notice, at least inside of like AOE Brady, one of the coolest little pairings that we've seen was Clam and Robbie Bob. We talked about, especially the desk talked about a little bit of how Robbie Bob kind of moved about in a bunch of different teams. One of the teams he made a stop at was Purdue University, and Clam was the jungler for Purdue University when they made that massive run inside of that huge collegiate tournament, and then some of the amateur teams were there too. Ended up going to the finals, losing there, unfortunately. But you see that combination was obviously good enough. It's not quite the Robbie Bob Hayami matchup from back on the Mirage days, but at least I think it's the best to jungler pairing we've seen for him ever since that day has come through. So I think with Gluten-Free Panda in this lineup, maybe that's a place of attack here for the side of AOE Brady, getting that phenomenal pairing of those two together to attack the likes of Gluten-Free Panda and Drew Dozer, who might not have that same kind of synergy since that's not the starter for the most part.
Yeah. You have GFP over onto the other side here. They don't have Hyper in here inside of game number 1. Illinois State, they're looking like they're trying to shake things up a little bit, try a couple things out. These are the reigning defending champions at the current moment in time. And we'll be curious, see if that synergy is still there, just like you said. See what we'll be able to see, what kind of craziness Drew Dozer might be able to break out, or if it's going to be that synergy that is just going to be built instantaneously with GFP and Drew Dozer. We'll have to see.
This is also my first experience on the patch, and you know what they did to the jungle, unfortunately, where they just were like, all right, here's half of it gone. Here's 8 different champions that no one expected to be in the jungle. Right into the meta, and already AOE Brady. Morgana's off the third. First off, Nausicaa can play it, and I'm certain that Gluten-Free Panda can play it, because most junglers have definitely put this into their pool. It was already okay before the patch had come through, and now it's absolutely disgusting. And then you have things like Darius that are still hovering around. I've heard really, really high praise on Diana this patch, having her come back. She's already
broken
to get some nerfs as well. I'm curious how much of that makes an impact. In fact, actually, Illinois State comes out, immediately ban out the likes of the Malzahar, which is something a lot more targeted than we're normally accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, and I love this too. You were talking about junglers. Rumble is another one. They tried to buff him to take him out of mid lane, and now it's just like, oh wait, Rumble can just go anywhere. He's broken. Okay, cool.
Yeah, taking that, so first off, like pretty much any champion in the entire game is more susceptible to damage. It was just a straight buff on that passive proc, and it does make him a bit more of a melee champion, so it does kind of thrust him a bit more into top lane, which was their intention by taking down the magic resist. But also, you know that on the side of Illinois State, Disconnector has played this before in the past, and so you have to know that that's at least a little bit of a flex pick potentially, but also getting that out of the hands of ShamWow if you want something stalling, especially if you're going to have to blind pick top lane. It's a great idea. On the opposite side, again, the Nico taken away. Really, really specified bans here from both teams, making sure to get rid of everything they possibly can.
Another one right there. Get rid of the Jinx. They don't want to have to deal with that. And now Illinois State, they got the last ban in their pocket, and it's going to be first pick for AOE Brady. This will be very interesting. I'm actually very curious on what this first pick is going to be. Hecarim is still on the table.
Yeah, you think Hecarim, Udyr, Olaf, Thresh, Rel, I was going to say Tristana, she just got banned, but like Kai's is still on the board. I don't know what you want to take, especially on this patch, because I'm sure these teams have been practicing for the last weekend to be able to make sure that things are going to come through, but we would see we'll go with the preference here from the side of AOE. Maybe this shakeup also is something that can help AOE Brady get an edge, because they are a little bit ahead of the meta over top of Illinois State. Maybe they have an advantage coming in. We already see them adapting to this patch nicely, making sure there's no Morgana to be taken away, making sure that Rumble's going to be gone. They're going to go back to this Hecarim. That's to be expected. If you don't have a bunch of these crazy junglers already prepared for competitive play, and like, let's be real, how many junglers had Diana in the pool ready to go, Darius in the pool ready to go, and those champions we're not even sure are actually battle tested and ready for competitive play in general. Morgana just happens to be one of those champions that was hovering around that power level. It can also be flexed around, so that makes sense why they go back to something comfortable.
Yeah, I like it. I honestly really do enjoy it. And on the other side, man, you know, Seraphine did not get banned, and somehow it's gotten all the way over the red side here since we did see the Hecarim. So Seraphine getting picked up here.
Yep. Friendship with Seraphine ended. My new favorite first ban is Morgana on blue side. So thankfully we're getting through. Maybe we'll get more Seraphines. Maybe we won't. I don't really matter. It doesn't matter to me. She's now, I think, weak enough. After the changes, though, to especially it was... I can't remember that Moonstone. Moonstone, yes. This patch is much better for solo laners because it's contingent on the items that you get rather than the leveling you get. So supports, they aren't getting gold. They're not buying items. Mid laners are. So mid lane Seraphine is actually quite a bit stronger after this patch, and eventually when you scale it up to full items, you get to a really good place where you're going to be able to get that like 110. It's going to be a little bit stronger. The proc rate also is a lot more consistent than it's actually quite nice. I don't know if it's good with Moonstaff, but that's not always what you're buying anyway. So I think Seraphine's perfectly good to throw into the mid lane. I don't think it's as good to put in support role this patch.
ISU, they're locked in a lot of flexing over on their side, but over on AOE Brady here, you know, they've got the Kaisa. We already talked about that being a very, very strong champion. We'll be curious to see what else they lock in to go beside it.
Nothing crazy so far from the side of AOE Brady. In fact, nothing crazy from both sides. Seems like a lot of the champions that would have been flexible or new within this confines of the patch aren't really going to be tested all too much. I do love the Galio coming out here. I know Robbie Bob used to run like Death Cap first with like Dark Harvest, which I think was a mean build, but it can be flexed between Robbie Bob and Skytech, of course, in the bottom lane. Perfect carrying for the likes of the Kaisa, and does indicate a bit of a dive comp coming in. None of these champions are new or crazy. Same with Illinois State, where they got a couple of power picks in Seraphine and in the likes of the Volibear. You'd think that they would respond likely support here only to make sure they could snag that. This would be a really intriguing. Okay, they're going to go for it immediately.
Locked in, baby. We got ourselves a Vladimir game coming out here. Did get a little bit of a touch up, so I'm excited to see this, honestly, coming out from the side of Illinois. Let's see how exactly it plays out as we're going into the second phase of bans. One team has fairly standard, and one had a little surprise right before we go into ban phase number 2.
We did. It is curious to me where this Vladimir can go. I wonder if they can flex it between top and mid, because competitively, when I see it nowadays, it's pretty much exclusively top, but I know that these recent buffs have been really, really good for it. So I'm curious. I don't think that Drew Dozer would have a difficult time playing it, and especially when Volibear can be moved between jungle and top. They've got some real flexibility with their draft right now, so they can go for ADC right here on R4 and maintain a lot of the flexibility that their draft's going to have. The Seraphine can still go mid or support, and you still have multiple flex picks between all of the picks that you've got right now. So very tricky draft, and they don't even have to give away information until that R5 where everything gets solidified. Make a lot of choices at once, which is beautiful from the side of Illinois, and especially Prater, who's playing 5v chess right now.
Honestly, absolutely took the words out of my mouth there, man. It's actually incredible the amount of flexibility that we have from the side of Illinois. But Brady, they said, this stuff is not it's not broken, don't fix it. You got this Hecarim, you got this Kai'Sa, you got this Galio. I'm hoping that we do get to see them have more champions to amplify them going in the way they are. As interesting, Cho'Gath and Thresh taken off the table here.
So far, it's actually a relatively slow damage comp from Illinois, because Vladimir takes a little bit of time to get going, so does Seraphine. And even in fights where they have their damage readily available, it's not going to come out all at once. It's going to be like an extended fight. There's a lot of healing and draining. I would love to see some really high burst damage out of some position, whether it's ADC, where it's out of like a support or a mid lane or whatever you've got left in your tank. But that's what I want from Illinois State. But it is a lot of dive. There's a good amount of protection. This is interesting. They gave away some information. We were expecting the Seraphine mid though, but the Bard is going to be fit into this composition. I love Bard. He's my favorite player.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites for sure as well. And I'm excited to see exactly how it gets played out here, as this does still kind of, give us an air of mystery here, as it does say, all right, maybe the Seraphine's going to be your bot laner here. But over on the other side, Brady, they're just going to go ahead and lock in the Xerath.
That's real interesting, because that does mean almost certainly that it's going to be the Xerath in mid lane. I know our producer's probably foaming at the mouth over that because he loves Xerath, one of his favorite champions. Shout out to Mr. Hype in the background. So I don't think you put it into support role. Pretty sure it's going to go mid lane, and Galio should be at the support role. Although I don't think Galio is that fantastic into Bard. In terms of engaged champions, it's not great. They're also going to blind top lane here with the likes of the Aatrox potentially going to solidified. So now you have the chance of, okay, do we want to put Bully into the Aatrox lane? Do we want to pick a different jungler or something along those lines? Do they still pick an ADC? You still can do that as well, but then your jungle pick is all of a sudden kind of messed up, or something along those. Your top lane pick now has to be Vladimir in that particular regard. I don't know what they've got prepared. We're still waiting to see exactly how this composition is going to round out. They do need AD very heavily, though. I would love to see an AD champion, because otherwise this becomes a mess.
There you go. That would be a good answer for some AD. It packs in some true damage as well. So there it is, locked and loaded. Camille over inside of the top side. And there we have our matchups in regards to everything. We got the Vladimir in the mid lane, got the Volibear, we got the Seraphine taking her concert down to the bot lane with Bard. It's going to be very interesting, and we got to see Illinois flex everything around. But I got to bring up the fact, yet again, Brady, it just picked up a bunch of things that felt like it was just like, all right, these are stable pieces. We know these work. Very tried and true draft coming out from them.
That they do. They have 3 pieces of a dive composition, and then they've got really good mid fighter in Aatrox. The one thing that kind of doesn't fit super well is Xerath, but Xerath works as a siege engine where your ultimates, your Qs, everything comes from out of range anyway. And who's diving that far into Xerath? It's Camille could do it potentially. A Seraphine ultimate, if angled properly, could definitely do it. But Xerath, for the most part, should feel relatively safe within this game. The one problem I will have with Illinois' composition is it feels like you went super slow on bottom side, and then you're picking an attacking counter pick lane for top side. You need something with good burst damage and AD. I was like, okay, Jace does real well. If you play to Jace really heavily, you shut down Aatrox, all of a sudden they don't have a front line and think, oh, Jace is disabled because of the bug. That's right. I forgot. My bad. Okay. There it is.
It's all good. It's all good. Look, it's all fine and dandy here. But man, oh man, getting into this game's gonna be fun, man. Yeah. It's gonna be exciting. I'm excited to see what the Vladimir is gonna possibly be able to do. I want to see how Drew Dozer is gonna be looking to pop off inside this game. Also, I'm going to be interested to see how accurate Robbie Bob is going to be on that right of the arcane. You know, he's going to be throwing those magic missiles from the sky. And, you know, seeing how he'll be able to have an impact with this mid lane matchup is going to be a very, very fun one to watch.
Yeah, I wonder if we can get a percentage counter for skill shots in the mid. I'm sure that Hyper's got one somewhere because I know he's been prepping this for like years for Xerath to actually come back into the meta. I'm just joking, but that's a lane that is insufferable, I think, for the side of Druidozer to start things off, because Vladimir has almost no kill potential in his Xerath to begin things. I feel like actually most of this map is relatively calm to start with. Top lane's going to have a bunch of potential interaction, and the only other person that in the entire map, for the most part, that should be doing things is like Galio moving around trying to aggress. But for the most part, I feel like junglers are going to control a lot of the pacing to begin this game and start to get into a lot of this beginning stages, trying to get this gold advantage going. For AOE, Brady feels like Clam's going to be a good amount of their focus, because if they can get this dive going really heavily, all of a sudden, like, Seraphine's under threat, Bard's under threat, they have a decently squishy composition. Yes, Vladimir can get away, but again, it takes them a while to try to get into that like 5v or 1v5 type situation, and that's not something that's going to be easily accessible for Illinois State if they start to lose beginning of the game. If Illinois State, however, holds in the earlier stages, gets into the more team fighting, ends up getting around those third, fourth objectives and starts competing at that point, that's where they really start to turn on, especially if they start getting Druidozer involved.
I'm with you 100%, man. The only thing I got to touch on is the magical journey that we're going to get taken for here, man. Illinois State, they got that Bard there. That's going to be fun to watch. We're talking about the jungle matchup, talking about how they're going to be able to impact. Let me tell you, I'm excited for some Bard, man. That Bard is a very, very fun champion to be able to watch. And the question is going to be from me, how is GFP going to be able to pair together with this Bard, right? Because the 2v2 potential is definitely there for the side of Illinois.
That it is. It feels like you have a couple of options. The first one is you can try to collapse into mid lane. It's hard to gank Xerath, but if you put him down, there's nothing he does into Vladimir for the most part. Vladimir just walks into the wave, presses E, it's gone, and Xerath has to do the same, and Vladimir moves a lot faster. You could attack side lanes because that's where your CC is at, because of course when you're Bard, you have CC. On the opposite side, you have Camille to be able to set things up, so maybe that's another play. I think the most important part of this game, though, it's defense. The earlier stages should be won by the likes of the side of AOE Brady in this one. I'm expecting Rift Heralds to be pretty decently focused on it, because again, if they get gold advantage, that's when their team starts to be able to kind of oppress around the map, even if they lose the first couple dragons. If they're up 3k, 4k gold, it suddenly becomes difficult to play for the side of Illinois State here. So that Bard ultimate is going to be super valuable, making sure to defend against those early Rift Heralds, shutting down some of that gold and shutting down some of the plays. I feel like it's a control pick that's intended to try to slow down the map, especially with the safety of like Vladimir's not getting killed. Seraphine should be fine in the bottom lane. There's no real threat on bottom side of the map, so you should just be playing to try to defend against really aggressive plays or trying to attempts to try to get a bunch of gold at once.
And, making sure to identify those threats and be able to knock those out will be a fantastic thing for both of these teams, really and truly, to be able to do here. We talked about it before. And, AOE, they've got this Aatrox over here inside the top lane. They blinded this. This is definitely something that he's comfortable on over inside the top lane. Is into a Camille, so a lot of people say that's not the greatest. But going to be able to see how the comfort is going to be able to take care of them inside this matchup. As ladies and gentlemen, we are in game number 1. AOE on the blue side, ISU over on the red side. It's going to be a fun one.
It should be extremely fun. We got some interesting picks. It's been a while since we've seen Vladimir or Xerath, and I don't think seeing those two champions together has literally ever existed. So this might be the first time I've seen these two competitively play against one another, which is really, really fun to think about. It's been a bit since Camille's actually popped up consistently, especially into Aatrox. This was that was pretty popular earlier on. All right, Nausicaa, you're popping up the pots. I personally like Q a lot earlier in specifically this matchup because Galio can go E very quickly, and if you get E taunt, all of a sudden Kai's stacking, and the plasma stacks can be excruciatingly deadly to begin the game with. So you have to play very carefully off the wave to begin with at level 1 if you're the side of ISU, unless you're really planning to just hard shove with like double E on disconnector and you're looking to grab some like chimes to begin the game with, get some of that experience, and try to get to that Q as fast as possible, because that's one of the best ways to try to deny Vex from walking up or Skytech from continuing through with any plays that are going to come through. It also does allow Druidozer, however, to kind of play a lot more aggressively, because now when he takes abilities, he's going to heal up from his Doran shield, and now he's got 3 hot cocos behind him if he needs a quick rest up at any point.
I mean, yeah, we're still getting a couple chilly nights here and there. Having 3 lines of hot cocoa is something I don't think anybody will ever argue with. As looking at what could possibly happen will be interesting to say the least, especially down here towards this bot side. Seraphine Bard versus a Kaisa Galio. Kind of curious to see how that will play out, like you were talking about. But so far, whoa!
You gotta take Q at level 1, man. I tell you, it's gotta happen.
We go back and he's almost dead. What the heck?
Yeah, it's crazy. Even worse, again, Disconnector went for Q level 1, which just doesn't have the same kind of like wave impact that E has at level 1, especially because you can tag all 6 minions. There's Skytech again. They didn't quite hit level 2, which was painful. He was trying to find it in the midst of that, so they're not going to find the perfect engage right there. But that's the deficit of taking that W level 1. Yes, your Vladimir's going to feel the effects pretty quickly, but unfortunately, you lose quite a bit of pressure in this bottom side. Notice also GFP actually kind of adapted the routing here.
Ooh.
That got a little bit lethal right there.
Every time we turn away from this bot lane, something happens.
Some shenanigans are happening in this bot lane, that's for sure. Okay.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be more here. Clam is
Yep.
in the area, possibly looking for the dive. This could be spicy. Taunt connects the Justice Punch.
Wow.
2 kills for the bot lane of AOE.
I was okay, so I was tracking what was happening with Gluten Free Panda. Okay, they're gonna TP back into this lane. I don't know if this is a proper decision.
Yeah,
Disconnector's just gonna TP back.
I mean, it's just disconnect. There's TP.
Mhm.
Okay, fine. You don't miss out on minion waves. But GFP is looking for Clam here. Is going to be able to collapse onto him. The scuttle was grabbed. We're seeing Robbie Bob trying to lay out some stuns here. Taunt not going to be able to. Oh, it just connects onto GFP on the end there and was able to pick up that. And now ISU, they're just in full retreat here, man.
That they are. This was a really intriguing set of moves that came out from just this early level 1 bot lane. What I thought happened during the course of this was I thought that GFP was going to rotate, clear back towards topside, go for stop scuttle. Instead, Clam decides to go for a dive, seeing that the camps are gone, and ends up pushing into this, getting a double kill, and even tanked aggro, so it didn't take more than 1 turret shot for his entire team, which was super impressive. But I thought what the intention was to get Gluten-Free Panda a better pathing by not having to contest for bottom side scuttle when you lose so much pressure on bot side. But instead, Clam just goes for the immediate dive, seeing that the camps were gone from GFP, makes that immediate play happen. All of a sudden, you got 2 kills. The third kill comes from the contested scuttle crab on in the middle of the river. And now all of a sudden, AOE has this early gold advantage that we said was something super important for them. This will allow GFP some counter jungling time. But this is fantastic start from the side of AOE Brady's comp.
Yeah, they coming in here. We told them, man. They looking. They said, all right, yeah, we might have gotten blown back in week number 1, but here we are, week number 4. They're coming in hot. Taunt coming through, going to be able to connect onto the bar. They're going to be able to find themselves another kill here. Beautifully done from the bot side of AOE.
And it is really well played. Playing the aggressive Galio very well. It's something Bard is very squishy and typically okay into some of these like engagey type supports, especially these melee engagey type supports, but it does become difficult now under the tower. TP's coming in to defend, but they might find Disconnector.
Under the tower, they're still looking for it. The shields were just enough. They do have to trade a life for it. Drew Dozer does find the kill. Is going to be looking for more. Does have double buffs to make sure he's going to be able to. He goes into the pool. Is not going to have Skytech get away from him. And now Drew Dozer finding 2 kills down in the bot side.
That it will. Now your Vladimir at least gets a little bit of gold back. Did cost the TP, but it's absolutely worth it because you're not finding too much in the side of the mid lane. So nice TP response from Drew Dozer to get a couple of kills into a rather big portion of your win condition here from the side of ISU, but it still was 2 kills for the likes of the Kaiser and Galio. They just traded that, as well as the wave getting shoved under tower. So it's more minions denied from Disconnector and a lot more gold heading into the pockets of Vex, who this is a guy who I'm sure a lot of people will familiarize themselves with. Back in the Challenger Series, was playing back then as well. Has been in UPL for a number of years, has played on a couple of teams with improving in Scouting Grounds iterations. Like, this guy's a super good ADC. He kind of finds himself as a little bit of a journeyman from time to time, but his home here on AOE Brady, he's bound to be one of the pieces that makes this team tick just because of how good he is and what the experience has. So getting him 3 kills to start with is a great way for AOE to begin things off.
They got a team. You got him and Robbie Bob. They're kind of like the sellswords of their team. They're just kind of wandering around doing their work for their whoever is able to pay their price. But ShamWow finding out that this Aatrox has a lot of damage to offer in the top lane, has to make an immediate retreat. As yet again, another bit of an engage here. Looking to Tango with disconnect. The arcane comes through. Robbie Bob picks up the kill, but it's immediately traded over to GFP. But the revenge is claimed by Clam. Now it's the Bard and the Vladimir. They're over here into the side here.
Oh, the shock
connect the stun onto Drew Dozer. He is burning alive. The lasers are hitting. Vex finds the kill. Buff transfer complete yet again.
It is a really early game composition when you have a Galio and you have a Hecarim and you're running things like Ignite even, that you can't really slam your head into this team. Vladimir takes a bit of time to get going. So does everybody else. So team fighting is not really your knack unless you're able to be the first one with 5 members and you're able to get some of these ult offs. But ISU is nowhere near that point. So now you give up, what is that, 3 for 1 here in this topside river. A couple of kills going into Robbie Bob's pocket, more kills going to Vex, and even Cloud Drake going to be heading over to this team that does pretty well with some ultimate cooldown reduction between the Galio and the Xerath. So much being bled out by the side of ISU. We said, slow down, just take this game a little bit later, give away some of these early objectives, and you're going to be in a perfectly fine place. But instead, this bot side has found themselves unable to slow the tide of AoE's composition, and now they're looking down the barrel of a pretty sad or a pretty terrible loss at the moment. And I guess trying to solve this is a problem that's going to continue throughout the game, because again, Vladimir's not going to be able to assassinate. ShamWow's doing well on the top side. Perhaps that's the reprieve, is being able to assassinate Vex on the backside of a fight. But again, there's too much gold right now for Disconnector and Nausicaa to handle.
Yeah, it's getting to be a little bit disgusting if they do not watch out. Betts is over here hiding inside of a bush, looking to just continue to build this lead, right? Doesn't have a completed item just yet, but it won't be too much longer before that. You can even see this Bard is starting to get so precautious. It's actually throwing those cosmic bindings blind.
Making sure not to get caught off guard at all. Doesn't want to be caught sleeping. Everywhere else on the map, you're taking a look at top lane. Top lane was in kind of a terrible place for Solidified at one point. Pretty sure he was down like 16, 17 minions, but now has at least kept the lead where it's been at for the last little bit of time. And you've seen a couple of really good fights right there. Was a couple of very solid cues. Nice attempt as the fight could continue from these two. That's the ultimate from Solidified.
World Ender comes on through. The Hextech ultimatum is available, so Solidified does have to be careful about this. Flash was forced. So beautiful from Solidified to force all of that out.
That it was. Very, very well fought right there from Solidified. Did lose a fair chunk of the wave right there, which is probably the one deficit, is that ShamWow is low health, but if they can't convert it, but that's what Clam's for, is he's going to be heading up here on this horse. Can he find the ultimate, the dive onto ShamWow before the back comes through? Solidified, you got a challenge right now because you cannot let ShamWow get away with this for free.
Oh, does force him to get away from it, but down here in the bot side, Skytech is going to be able to lead the way on this dive, as it's going to be Vets finding another kill under the tower. And hey, look, it's just like what happened in the bot lane. It's 2 people diving you. It's Sham going down, and Solidified finds the kill.
That he does. Well played. I'm glad that they were able to actually stop that back. I was worried they were only going to be able to punish with a wave, which is actually what was lost by Solidified during the course of that little precursor fight. So well played by Clam, being able to find a play on the opposite side of the map from the play that had happened on bottom side. Now Robbie Bob, he's throwing ultimates at Drew Dozer, cannot quite find the kill, but still relatively accurate, able to get a couple of shots down, and Drew Dozer's forced to back on this Vladimir. Again, this composition so far from AOE Brady is just impressive against the side of ISU, consistently making these these plays all across the map.
And this is the storyline we've been talking about here. AOE Brady, they've been a team that has been growing ever since their week 1 loss to ISU, and they have been a team that has just become a stronger and stronger presence out here inside of the UPL. And you can see that in the state of the game here versus ISU here. We're inside of game number 1 of this best of 3, and they're definitely having a strong opening statement here. 10-3, you got a 19K gold for yourself. You got about a 3K gold lead for yourself. Even this right here, ISU's trying to get something to happen cross map on Solidified. Eventually get him, but they had to waste so much time to be able to do such. Wait, actually not going to be able to get him.
Nope. Not able to find anything. It looks like ShamWow to try to go underneath the tower. No ultimate to reset the aggro, and the Bard ultimate is not available because Nausicaa's still only level 5 after all of the beginning of the game excursions that happen on bot side, so they have nothing to force with. So Solidified is not going to fall. They do end up being able to have the ability to take down this Rift Herald for Gluten-Free Panda, but again, if you get that kill, you get some tower plates, maybe there's something, and you're trading that over for pure tower gold here for the side of the Kaisa, as it's just going to be Vex picking up solo plates and solo gold on the bottom side, and not even one plate pulled off the side of ISU with the rest of this. So those 2 plates you get for Rift Herald, you're going to have to try to find a place to attack with it to match what Vex is getting on bottom side right now. And all these plates, all these denied minions from the Seraphine. Solidified's still here as well to maybe make some funny pokes at the likes of GFP. Actually, they're going for him a little bit.
Yeah, they're looking at him. You know, he did have to, become that big giant demon bear. Drew Dozer looking to lay out some damage onto Clam himself, get some HP on back. But it's just going to be Volbear retreating. And Vex looking for something. He uses the killer instinct to get over to the other side. He's thinking about the magical portal. He's like, do I take it?
I saw Nausicaa take the magical portal, and then I saw all of a sudden, like, Vex, like, immediately shifted position. Nausicaa's health bars start falling. I'm like, oh no, Nausicaa. And right there, a bit of an aggressive ultimate, but not going to get punished because there's just not enough damage and no ability, no ultimate, or a disconnector not willing to burn the ultimate at least.
Yeah.
As Vex goes unpunished on top side, as the Galio was on top side to help try to make pressure happen across the map. It was still 4 plates falling into the hands of Vex and this Kai'Sa right here. So there's still quite a bit of gold across the map exchanged for this Rift Herald. It's the 4,000 gold lead now almost here for the side of AOE Brady to begin this game. This is the mark I was talking about where it's like, even if they're down 2 dragons or something, if they get these first couple Rift Heralds and they make these big aggressive plays to get the gold lead, it's a shame.
Almost got him. Tried to taunt them out of the magical journey, but
very close.
It's a journey that had to be taken.
They are collapsing on bot very quickly.
Yeah, this is very quickly, very swiftly. They are getting out of dodge there, man. There's a lot of item diff going on right now. They don't want to mess with this Kai'Sa who has the Serrated Dirk and a Gale Force. They don't want any of that smoke.
Man, look what they're doing right now also on the map. They're somehow able to keep Galio here to just like box out this bottom lane. GFP might come up the top side to try to get first tower, but Vex is able to just free fire towards this bottom side tower. I'm curious if they're trying to trade. Rift Herald's going to get dropped. It probably just gets the tower, to be quite honest. So can Vex? Yeah, Vex gets first tower. So you're trading tower for tower. Camille gets part of it, and then obviously, the jungler will also get part of it, where GFP is able to pull a little bit of gold right there with the Rift Herald drop. But Vex is able to do pretty much anything he wants, and that whole time they take Dragon, and now even the dive might be coming through. Skytech's getting a big wraparound.
Yeah, he's going for it, not just in range there. The flash is going to come out. They're going to be able to throw out a performance there, but going to go gold and buys himself a little bit of time. Cosmic Binding, beautifully used there. The shutdown comes through. Gallia makes a heroic entrance and make a heroic escape. It's Clam over here onto the side, looking to get the kill onto Drew Dozer. Right at the Arcane over onto the side, taking pot shots at Drew Dozer. Will be able to take them on down. Now it is the Bard trying to continue this chase for a beautiful flash coming out from Sham. Wow. To secure the kill on the Clam.
And finally, a play comes through that actually favors the side of ISU. I don't know how this happened. I don't even want to in the grand scheme of things and how the Galio was able to get there. So I'm not going to worry about it. Instead, bottom side, they pressure really far forward, trying to find this super deep dive, finally get punished for it. Fantastic combination of ultimates from Disconnector and Nausicaa, end up burning this one to start with. You're seeing the back end of this play where that ultimate set up a really nice Bard stun, and then they're able to use the right of the Arcane to find a pick onto Drew Dozer, thankfully, to get something back. And Clam gets caught by this immaculate play from ShamWow. Very, very long distance use of the hook shot to find a maximal range ability right there. And getting quite a bit back in terms of gold in their pockets. 2,500 here is still the advantage for AOE Brady. About 1,500 short of what they had before. There wasn't a back from Vex, which is one thing that kind of perplexed me coming into that play, where it's like, I think Vex didn't have the entire collector, only had like one extra component outside of just the Gale Force with the pure boots. So maybe that was a problem coming into that one, that they could have, taken it back, just played a lot more respectfully. They do sit up 2 dragons right now, though, confident in their ability to continue taking these neutral objectives off the back of the map when ISU's got a pretty solid team fighting composition, as they showed right there when they start linking up ultimates.
See how they chain this together. ISU still in a very interesting spot, though. They did, shore up some of that gold disadvantage they were at after that last fight. I'm going to be seeing what they do with this, They're serving their Bard. They haven't been able to really do too terribly much, but this Vladimir and Camille have been able to kind of scale up a little bit. They've found some resources that have landed in their lap. The Camille has done a fantastic job. Look at the CS differential that's actually there in favor of ShamWow. As you can see, AOE is looking to jump onto him.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
There's some problems that are...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna happen, and even worse, it goes to Vex.
Yeah, cast the curse. You hype up a player,
Now, hold on a second. I didn't hype the player. You cursed.
No, I did. That was me. I take the fact that I did that. It was not you. That was me.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. No, I get it. Everybody does it from time to time. It's an unfortunate byproduct. We start talking about that. I think what it is like the mindset is there from casters to point out that somebody's doing good, but in game they're like, all right, we got to shut this guy down, and that's just happening while we're talking about this player. So we get to see this play develop. It's even worse because now Vex has actually been shifted to top side, where top tower is going to go down. They're getting quite a bit. Drew Dozer's in bot side. They're collapsing around Solidified right here. Can he get out with the ultimates?
Yeah, they're looking to try and turn the tide. Beautiful flash come out from Solidify. Will keep him alive, and that's not going to be a tower that's going to be able to get dropped, as ISU doesn't really have the strongest tower take.
I was terrified for ShamWow there for a minute.
I think it's still fine to be terrified for him. Betts is a shark out here, and is going to be able to pick up another kill on the ShamWow.
Yeah, this is not the first time within UPL that you and I have covered like the ADC bait where they're like, oh, I'm an ADC. Oh, no, I'm defenseless.
I'm so weak.
There's two people right behind somehow. Like ShamWow hookshotted thinking, oh, I'll go in. And then I think was like, wait a minute, there's no way he's just hanging here on his own. So then went backwards, but it was still too far. Robbie Bob under some distress right now.
Yeah, he flashes away from the tower. Will be able to fire some lasers, some thunderbolts, some everything nice, but none that's going to be able to finish anybody off. So that will be a kill secured for ISU in the mid lane.
Shots taken against Disconnector, actually like 60% of the health bar is gone from 2 abilities. So that was rather impressive, but it doesn't matter. And they can't even stay here for the tower, as it's been a while since the likes of Vex and Skytech were seen on the map. So they know that the potential play in the mid lane was going to come back in response. So it is just the kill getting traded over. As again, the gold lead's sitting around this 2,500, 3,000 mark here for the side of AOE Brady, as they're consistently moving this Kai'Sa around, using her the same way that you would see like a Caitlyn be moved around the map, just taking tower after tower after tower. And it's working out. They're doing well, just flexing this gold. It is a 3-item Kai'Sa. Hasn't completed boots yet, but still 3 full completed items.
Damage!
Goes very hard. You saw right there what he did to poor Drew Dozer.
That is just so rude. It just walked up to him and just said, all right, I'm going to hit my Q key. Watch as your HP just disappears there. Ooh, got an ult onto Robbie Bob. This could be the play they're looking for. They also get a huge charm. This is the wombo they were looking for. They are able to find one. They're able to find 2. Solidified is left alone for the rest of his team, and ISU find 3 for themselves. The Red Hurricane is going to be able to pick up Volbear onto the backside. But AOE only claim 1 member at the price of 3.
And that is what the side of AOE Brady gets for loitering. That's why you don't loiter, kids. It's against the law. They're just sitting in mid lane, kind of just like like standing around, waiting for the wave to come in, like just poking away, throwing autos and stuff. And right there, you see the combination. Nausicaa was able to throw an ult in to catch somebody, and then Disconnector was able to get a big ultimate, especially onto Vex, to throw that into the midst of this team. That Gout gets them a couple of kills, equalizes the gold count, and does get ISU their first drag in the game. This is the superior team fighting we're talking about. Nausicaa starts with an ultimate, does find Robbie Bob, more importantly, doesn't find Vex, but the encore does. That leads to this huge AoE explosion from the combination of both the Vladimir and the likes of the Volibear throwing their ultimates into a cluster of people that just got hit, and after that, there's nothing much to be done. Xerath's got good damage, not great damage, and Clam cannot frontline anymore as the health bar just is not there. As, 500 gold difference is not anything at this point in the game for the side of AOE Brady. They got 2 dragons to their name. For the most part, this is anyone's game again, and it is ISU with the superior scaling in the team fighting phase.
I got to just point out the loitering line again, man. You got me killed over here. Old man Rebel coming out. It's just like, these kids, they are going to learn their lesson today.
Hey, what am I supposed to call it? They're just
Get off
standing
my
around
lawn.
mid lane.
Get off my mid lane. Oh.
They just got their heads clicked on by Disconnector's ultimate. Like, that's what happened. I had to call on something. Just
Back in my day, people didn't even play Syndra. We played Ori and Orianna every game.
We do have the right of the arcane coming out here. Nola and Void stuff that play from happening. Drew Dozer getting jumped onto over into the top side, looking to outplay. It has the fancy footwork as the killer instinct comes out. 4 members dedicated to Drew Dozer, but nothing else gained at the moment for ISU.
Ooh, is this a Baron attempt that could come through? They don't have ShamWow. TP is up for ShamWow if he wants to rejoin. But one of the big components of this massive team fight is the Vladimir and the ultimate, the Hemo Plague, that could come out to ramp this damage. And now you just don't have that right now. Nausicaa also burnt the ultimate as well to stall this as fast as possible. There it is. It's going to be a 4v5. They're going to take the fight here.
They're looking for a beautiful headset ultimatum to be able to come on out. They're going to be able to lay out a lot of damage. GFP finds Clam. It's going to be them finding the Galio. The Kai'Sa's still alive, being able to free hit. It's going to be able to put out a lot of damage as she's kiting this one on back. Vets is doing an immaculate job, but it's going to be shut down by Disconnector. Now it is just Robbie Bob left standing here, trying to kite this one out. The TP's coming in from the Vladimir. Robbie Bob trying to fire some shots, trying to see if he'll be able to pick up the kill onto Disconnector on the way out. But the magical journey being taken by Drew Dozer there, cutting off every possible escape. Robbie Bob is still looking for kills, but it's just going to be the ace going over to ISU.
Oh, the setup is there. I love the fact that they go for the 5v4, but it just does not work out from the side of AOE. There's too many good things about the team fight that comes through from ISU, even without their Vladimir. I thought this might have been a fight that could have actually gone in their favor and won them back the game, but it's not going to be the case. Is right here, you'll see the setup starts. Keep your eyes on Disconnector's ultimate and look at Vex on the backside of the fight, because this is the important one to watch. And right there, he gets charmed, but more importantly, he can't burn through GFP fast enough. Only right there does he go down to start accessing backliners, and you need Vex hitting backliners as fast as possible. The ultimate had been burnt just a second ago, getting that pick onto Drew Dozer, and because of that, there's no ability to get back onto Disconnector, onto this backline, and kill everybody. Robbie Bob does a very valiant job attempting to carry that fight, but again, not yet are we there. It's still defensive itemization coming up from the likes of this Xerath right now, and until you start to get a little bit more damage under his belt, can't start one-tapping these squishies the way that you want to. And so ISU, they have completely wrestled this map back from the side of AOE with a Dragon, now a 1,500 gold advantage, and this team fight is really starting to come together.
I'm also going to point out the fact that Shamwell has been pulling off some fancy footwork here, has been the source of attention here as of late for AOE. As you can see here yet again, they gallop onto the top lane. Sham's just like, I just got here, guys. No, stuff that, not going to happen. Shamwell going to take in a heaping amount of damage. Vets did get traded about immense amount of damage back onto him, but not going to be able to secure a kill off the back of that. As you can see, ISU was kind of in the wings like, can we help him?
I'm only floored in that little pickoff by the amount of damage that Camille just did to Vex. It was one empowered Q with a Titanic Hydra, but it was half of Vex's health bar, which is starting to be a little concerning to me, given the fact that that's your primary carry and who has a bunch of your gold right now on the side of AOE Brady to pay attention to. I did see, however, Robbie Bob did half health Disconnector in terms of gold. You're actually going to see that on your screen right now. It is a massive advantage for Vex, but there is a lot of gold distributed among all of the members here from the side of ISU. They played at 5. They're so strong. Yeah, ShamWow doing really good in the side lanes as well. Starts to become that threat. There's no response from Solidified. He's been down pretty much the entirety of the game. Can't do the things that Aatrox wants to do. Again, the damage is starting to get there from Robbie Bob to poke down. I saw Disconnector lose half the health bar from a Q, but this team's real identity is making sure that Vex can play front to back, and setting that up is difficult when this Encore is available for Disconnector.
Oh, yeah, they're going to stop the purple worm, make it go golden, but here comes the fight coming in. They're going to be able to pop out Seraphine right off the get-go with that. GFP is over here onto the side. Robbie Bob is getting jumped onto into the backside, though. Shamwell going to be able to find that kill. It's going to be Kai'Sa continuing to chase on forward. It is just going to be the Bard barely able to survive here. Clam is looking to seek him on out while this is all happening. We got Solidified going golden over here into the backside, but it's Shamwell that rejoins the team alongside with Drew Dozer. They're laying in the path, and now it's just Vet and Clam left standing as the flankers rejoin the fray, and ISU was looking so strong.
I am extremely upsetty about what happened in that last fight. Upsetty, that's right, and that's the only way I can describe it. Look at what happens here. You get an immediate pick onto the likes of Disconnector. The Encore doesn't actually get off even, but see, ShamWow what's all your damage right there? Why are you chasing a Bard and a Volley Bear underneath tower? You're not winning that fight. Just turn back to the Baron. You got 5 members. None of them are touched for the most part. You're perfectly fine, but instead you get into this weird position. Clam goes way too far into fire Bard, and all of a sudden now Skytech's in a really rough position. He's going to get run down. Vex has to just run away from the fight. There's no one to frontline for him anymore. Just play what you've got in front of you. No Encore, no Seraphine healing. There's nothing left. The ultimate is burnt by Drew Dozer in the back line. Like, take the 5 on fire, or the remaining 5 and 4, and just win the fight in the river. There's no one to contest you at all. But instead, ISU able to pull out another fight in their favor. It's still only 500 gold, don't get me wrong, but Dragon count has now been equalized as well.
You know the meme where it's the show me whatever and I'll let you in through the door? That's what I feel like just happened here. Like Shamwell, who came in, he had a dank meme in his pocket, showed it to the class, and they're like, all right, yeah, you can go take care of Robbie Bob. like it was just like there had to have been some sort of trade-off there. Like he just walked past everybody. Oh man, it's Solidified's down here in the bot side. ShamWow and the Bard are here in the area. Solidified trying to see if he can tango with the Camille, but the Cosmic Binding, the damage comes through. It's all no Sham, it's all WoW down here.
Yes, ShamWow is now obscenely stronger than the Aatrox. If there are any preconceived notions that Aatrox might be able to stay alive in this lane, those are now completely gone just off the gold advantage alone between these champions.
Oh gosh, ShamWow, no! Oh, he got out of harm's way. The Kill Instinct had to be used. It's going to be the headset ultimatum. They have to use the heroic entrance here. Double TP coming through. A lot of ultimate abilities have been used, though. Disconnector's here to try and aid in the support for his team. Drudozer's down here into the backside. That's going to be a double kill that comes on now. Imcore not going to be able to connect onto anybody there, as Disconnector's just trying to kite this one on back with his bar, but Clam is giving hot pursuit in regards. The root is going to be able to come through, but it's going to be a taunt that's going to be able to force the flash coming out from Disconnector as a beautiful magical journey gets him out of there. ISU is going to be able to make an escape there at the bot side after tragedy strikes.
Not as huge of a win because there isn't really an objective to take. They'd have to cross map immediately to Baron right this second. It's already 15 seconds on ShamWow and Drudozer. ShamWow's got TP. At best, this is a 4v5 where you just wait a couple of seconds. So it is just a handful of picks that come through from AOE Brady, but they do find a couple of good plays. I do think they put a lot into making sure Vex wasn't engaged on immediately right there, but it simply isn't going to matter all that much in the grand scheme of things. It's just a couple of kills. You do see one problem, though, that ISU does have. If they begin to Stormtrooper into fights the way that they just did, there could be problems as this shift has come through, but because the Rift Scuttler was taken, all of this warding, you have to put all of that away. You got to make sure that that's closed off here from the side of AOE Brady to take river control, and that's not going to happen at least until Drudozer's back on the map. So again, they're not really accomplished too much. Just a handful of picks right there. Did get Infinity Edge completed, though, for Vex. So there is that coming into this next fight.
Yeah, Vets is actually pretty terrifying, man. He also has a sash. I'm still terrified of this Kaisa, but it is a very big thing. And the fights that we see ISU win.
You're wrong. He doesn't have a sash. Nope, no sash.
Oh, wait. Oh, it's a scimitar now.
Oh, yep. Sorry.
He just changed it.
He literally just changed it as he said that, unfortunately. Yeah.
You literally just like you hit me with the chat the chat move where it's just like this guy didn't know what he's talking about. He obviously has a scimitar.
I'm semantics police, dude. It was the scimitar. It was the call of the loitering in the mid lane.
Did you push up your glasses right before?
If I had a pair of glasses, I'm sure I would have. I'm just old man. I'm old man rebel today, I guess.
Old man rebel here indeed. A Disconnector looking to try and clear out some of these waves out here in the mid lane. This game has kind of gotten into a stable point. Both teams just pushing waves against each other over and over now.
That they are. I do like finally that the Blighting Crystal is in the inventory of Robbie Bob. I like that item alone, let alone the entirety of Void Staff, is so crucial to a mage's ability to just hammer damage into enemy teams. You'll see a remarkable difference between what he was doing before and what he'll be doing now with that one item completed. And also with Banshee's Veil completed, that means that like there's no stuns, no Encore is going to be able to tag him, nothing crazy like that. We'll be able to block like the first of like a Vladimir combo, especially like an empowered Q if it blocks something like that. It's humongous for the survivability of the Xerath within a fight, but still not going to be super easy to live on the backside. Ideally wants to position in really comfortable places, but at minimum, the Banshee's Veil means that, again, we saw Drudozer dive last time. One expended Q is 3-4 seconds extra alive that a Xerath can throw another Q, throw another W, something along those lines. That might make it easy. As they see Drudozer on bot side, they kind of push into mid lane. They're loitering.
Encore is connecting. They're chaining CC beautifully. Clam taking off. They don't need any extra help. They're going to be able to hit a beautiful ball on an ultimate. They're going to be able to lay out the damage. As ISU looking to try and take the fight, but Vex is going to strike back with a vengeance. Is going to be able to go unstoppable, find the kill onto a Volibear. And after all of that, it is just a 1-for-1 at the moment, but a dragon to be claimed by ISU.
Why are you standing in mid lane when you have a Xerath? He just hits Q and the wave is gone. That's it. That's all. Why are you at 5 members? Like, if you're looking for the fight, go fight. Press the ultimate button, Clam. Like, get into the fight. Yeah. But, like, they just stood there, and they were like, okay, Encore gets hit, Double E gets hit, Q gets hit by Nausicaa, all of a sudden our frontliner's dead. And it's like, okay, well, what are we going to do about it? And then they do end up getting at least one trade kill onto GFP, but they can't even turn it into a Baron because Clam has no smite, and they traded for GFP, thankfully. But the team fight is so strong when you've got Drudozer, who's been unaffected, ShamWow, who's been unaffected, and you had a member at base like fractions of a health bar at that point, so they can't even trade. So instead, they're looking down the barrel at an Ocean Soul Vladimir and an Ocean Soul Seraphine, which are not words that are good, which is why I'm saying them in a weird cadence right now, because I don't want to see what kind of healing they can do.
It's a disgusting amount of healing. No doctors, no nurses needed.
No.
For the side of ISU at this point in time, because you're looking, like you said, down the barrel of an Ocean Soul. A lot of teams out there know this is a scary thing to be looking at from the other side. Clam going to get caught out again. Beautiful stun to be able to connect, but Bard is getting bursted down. Headset ultimatum onto Vets. They're trying to kite it out, trying to keep him alive. Is going to be able to put out the damage and does find the kill. While this all happens, Vladimir able to get the pick off onto the Aatrox in the bot lane. So they are going to have that split push threat. Drew Dozer also having TP, doesn't have flash, had that spin that for that kill. This is Baron.
Yeah, GFP needs, if he finds a smite steal right here, I think this could just end up being game just off the back of Drew Dozer's play, as there's no TP coming in for Drew Dozer. He's just going for the inhibitor. They're willing to trade this. Okay, there it is right there. I think that's a mistake.
He's looking for it. The Volibear goes into it. It's going to be secured by the Kaisa here. The Volibear inside the pit with nobody else there to be able to back him up. Drew Dozer doesn't have the ultimate ability for himself, but he's going to be able to lay out heaps amount of damage. It's going to be eventually taken out by the Kaisa, a trade of life for life. But Baron buff is going to be secured only onto, I don't even know if Clam was able to get it. No, it's just going to be on Robbie Bob. Oh, no, he got it. Clam got it.
Yeah, no problems there. It was, I think this was perhaps a small fumble from ISU. I don't know that you ever really look for this fight. I think, honestly, if you just stay in that bottom wave, crash that wave into bottom inhibitor, and even crash it into Nexus Towers, you might even just pull an entire Nexus Tower if you're Drew Dozer and look for the fight afterwards. This is a low-range composition. You can definitely take a counter siege into something like this. Instead, they opt for this. Yes, they find the pick onto Vex, which was really huge. Robbie Bob's damage is coming into kind of the limelight. You saw right there. That huge was humongous on the backside of this fight, and they don't even get an inhibitor on bottom side for it because, of course, that wave wasn't able to collapse before the wave had come through from AOE Brady. I will say at least a small mistake from Drew Dozer. I think if you wait for inhibitor, even if you don't end up going for the fight on the TP flank, you end up getting a lot more for the side of ISU. But again, their win condition is perfectly around always team fighting. They go for a team fight, so I can respect that. And they still have their 3 Drake win condition as well as, like you said, only 2 members with the Baron means it's going to be slow from AOE Brady. Anyway, they're probably not going to accomplish too much.
Man, not going to be able to accomplish much, and seems like we'll have to see exactly what this might entail, man. This game is so close that either one of these teams could pick up the dub here, and it wouldn't shock me in the slightest. These teams are trading back and forth, haymaker after haymaker. They teeter on the ropes, and they get back on their feet. This is one hell of a game one. We got the ultimate to connect onto Robbie Bob. Encore not going to be able to connect onto anybody, though. Clam is in the midst of them all, going to be able to hit the onside shadows onto 4 members. They're looking for more as Sky into the backside there. They got the heroic entrance going on through. This is going to be the first person taken out. It's going to be the Kaisa. It's going to be Clam picking up the kill onto the bar while ShamWow is over in the backside. Robbie Bob is going to find himself getting deleted. Clam is trying to make a swift retreat as it's going to be the Galio versus the Camille on the backside. Solidified gets taken down by the remaining 3 members of ISU, and it is a victory in that team fight for ISU.
This might end
Clam,
up.
what are you doing?
He's trying to, keep some of the wave off right now, but all he's going to do is die to ShamWow. He should have waited for the next one to come through. Is that last wave probably would have helped him out a little bit, but this is probably going to be game from the side of ISU. I don't know what AOE's damage dealers were doing in that fight. Both of them committed way too hard to killing off the Bard exclusively, and because of that, there's nobody putting damage into everybody else. ShamWow was able to get onto the backline. They were able to put all this damage into Vex when he was able to ult on top of Nausicaa, and that's just going to be the game here for the side of ISU as they play this kind of scaling, waiting, team fight, 5-on-5 composition. They find those fights again and again, and they're able to drag themselves out of a 4,000 gold deficit in the mid game, down 2 dragons as well, into a victory in 35 minutes.
Game 1, a 35-minute slugfest. Both of these teams not just trading constantly there, Rebel. You couldn't ask for a better game to set the tone for a series. And man, oh man, if we get more of this, I'm ready for tonight, man. Let me get some more. I am all about this. And both these teams, they have their faults, they have their strengths, and they are smashing against each other beautifully.
it was an exceptional game, I think, from both parts. So, like, both of these teams actually did some very good things. I think they also had a very good number of mistakes I tried to point out during that game. But the big thing was they were playing to win conditions for the most part. It just felt like AOE Brady kind of fell apart towards the end of that game. Again, a number of times where they're caught just like sleeping in a weird position where maybe they're looking for like a big fight and they just end up not engaging in time. Or that last fight where like your damage dealers went to the wrong area instead of playing front to back and then playing to peel them off as like Galio. Instead, you're like diving into this team, picking the wrong target. It just feels super strange. And it felt like almost like nerves that had come out where you don't want to see Vex go to backline. You don't want to see Robbie Bob throwing his ultimate at Bard in the midst of a fight. But they're really, really close. That was an exceptional game from both sides. And like you said, if we're getting that for 3 games straight, I'm all about this one.
I'm all about it as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take ourselves a short little break. So make sure you don't go anywhere because an exceptional game has to be followed by an exceptional death. So be sure to stay tuned as we will be right back.
And welcome back to ladies and gentlemen, Ravishing with Beaton Boulevard and my man Koskinen. And it's, gentlemen, we certainly did watch some League of Legends, didn't we? We watched 35 minutes of wholesome, good-hearted, back and forth League of Legends, if you want to call it that. Now, Koskinen, go ahead and start with you on this one, man. This was AOE's game to win. Everything was in the palm of their hands in terms of just the draft, the lanes. They were winning. And then everything changed when Drew Dozer attacked. You know what? I'll let you take that one.
I mean, they had like the fattest, hugest lead bot lane. Vex and Skytech were just rolling them. They were diving them 2v2. Clam had a really, really good level 3 dive onto their bot lane. We're pulling it up right here. It was just really well timed. Good crash. They were in a really bad spot on the side of ISU. And they just hit a really slick combo. Skytech get the double man taunts with the Clam knock in, and they just get 2 kills for free. And you got to realize that they also just crash this massive wave with it. So they get this huge XP lead. And so they're in this great position. They keep repeat diving. They get so much gold onto Vex. Vex ends the game with, I think, 19 kills. And the problem comes in when they just overreach their boundaries. They give away a lot of shutdown gold. There's a point where Drew Dozer TP's bot when they go for yet another dive. And he just gets a double kill for no reason, really. Like, they trade a 1 kill for 2. It's just really bad shutdowns. And even through that, they have so much money, and they just keep diving. Like, I remember they dove the tier 2 tower bot lane at like 14 minutes. When you have this lead, you just put a stranglehold on the objectives. You just like set a vision of the jungle, take their camps, make it so they can't farm. You don't have to dive them over and over. It's just overreaching your boundaries. And because they keep throwing, they take a lot of risky team fights, and Disconnector hits some crazy ultimates, I won't lie, in these team fights to let them get back into the game. And ShamWow just becomes a monster on this Camille. He gets like, he's up like 4K gold on Aatrox. He's the only one in the good lane. So yeah, that's pretty much what happened there.
Yeah, the thing too is you kind of said it right there, Koskinen. You want to take a stranglehold on those neutrals, but unfortunately AoE, we're spending a little too much time on those dives. I think when you are facing against the comp like ISUs, whether or not the comp is great in the early stages of the game, is not really important. The thing you need to understand is that their comp will outscale you. You have a lead, fantastic. Things you need to look for are early objectives: Rift Herald, Baron, and especially the Dragon Soul. AoE got 2 early dragons. That's perfect. And one of the tragic misplays you're referring to happens around that's what should have been the Soul Point fight. And this is actually around the time where it happens. Oh, the clip is gone, but whatever. The point is, it's one of those wombos that you were talking about, Koskinen, where you see Disconnector land a sick charm with the Encore, a great Stormbringer coming from GFP as well. And it was just these fights that they keep winning, taking these inches that once they get to the later stages of the game where they're stronger, they didn't even have to play that well anymore. It's just 3-item Vlad. Let's go.
And from that point, gentlemen, I find that really we were even saying it too. So the game just completely flipped on side of its head, just completely topsy-turvy, like a pancake in a pan. You realize that one side's burning, so as you go flip to the other, like, oh, this is actually going to be still being okay. So you ignore that, put syrup on top of it, and all that syrup, that being those dragons that they kept getting, along with the sick ultimates that Seraphine kept landing over and over and over again. Right. Just loading them in, and we top that in just a sprinkle of Vex diving just into the middle of 5 different people and into a Camille, especially. Suddenly, that's a good breakfast right there for ISU. And right now, with the way I'm thinking about it, right, it's not as though like AoE did anything bad necessarily. It's just that in my opinion, they just gave ISU like just so much space and just took a couple bad fights, allowing them to bring this back into the game. I'm still content to say that this next game can go either way, but Beatdown, sticking with you first. Does AoE take this home? Do you think they'll make the same mistake twice?
That's a good question, because realistically, like going into the draft, we all agreed this should be an AoE game. I think Vlad mid, especially in a meta where you go play through your carry junglers, you need mid priority into almost or literally any other mid lane matchup. Vlad doesn't get that for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game. So if ISU don't draft that route and give Drew Dozer maybe something a little more traditional in the mid lane, I think they can just take it home with the 2-0. But I still think, all things considered, AoE played that early game very, very precisely, especially with all those bot lane dives. So that one is a little tough for me to actually call. I think if they still are able to get a good matchup there for Krem and allow him to continue diving a lane over and over again, and if he's on a strong pick like Hecarim, I actually think we could see a tie-up of the series here. But for the sake of my prediction, I hope not.
I hope almost the exact same here. Now, Koska, in your opinion, just in about just 10 words or less, does ISU take it home?
I think it's really up to AOE. I don't think I can say this in 10 words. But
At least he's honest.
It's up to them. If they do similar early game stuff, if they get that dominating lead, I hope they get a little wake up call. They take it down a notch. They use their lead better, and they don't just get super high feed. They're on stream. They're playing against a team that they lost to. They want to back. They just got to chill out. Take your kill lead. Turn it into 5 plates. Turn it into a dragon. Turn it into a quadrant. And they should be able to win if they play as well as they did last early game. It's also wake up call to ISU, chill out in the early game, maybe draft champions that are a little bit better. Don't make this sector have to 1v9 with 5-man Seraphine ults. Might be a little bit easier for you. I will say I do think Shamrock played that game phenomenally. He is lane phase. He was up like 40 CS even when getting dove. I know he had a good matchup, but he's also really good at Camille. So might be something I want to take out outside of.
With that all being said, here the cost of points of credit you offer. I believe all the players are waiting in gaming here. As a player yourself, you should know, man. You really don't want to wait on talent as much and as smart and as handsome as we are, right? My final piece of advice to y'all would be ban Camille. Just ban it. Don't let it into the game. That's all. Now, with that being said, let's pass it over to our caster, Rebel Fox and Travesty. Takes into game number 2. Let's get it.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Travesty. I'm joined here with Rebel. We're making it a TriCast, baby. The cat gets excited whenever they hear me get excited about a game. So Jeets is here, honorary caster for tonight.
Catster.
a catster, yes.
Everybody take a minute to appreciate. It's going to go down.
I appreciate it, yes. I don't even need a minute. I'll appreciate that for a while now. I'm going to clip it, go back, rewatch it, appreciate it some more later.
It's a perfect idea. Perhaps this is the tranquility both teams need because we got a bit hyphy in that last game. The desk just talked about how, cool your jets a little bit, maybe draft a little early game for ISU, a little bit later game, control yourselves a bit on both sides. And this is what we need. We need some nice relaxation, some nice cat holding to appease some of the anger that we had in game number 1.
We truly do. We truly do here. You can see the claws are even kind of coming out a little bit here. These sharp as can be. And, maybe these teams do need that too, some relaxation, some calming vibes. But these teams, they get the claws out, man. That was a tough game number 1 there. And, either one of these teams, they can walk away with this game number 2 here. After game 1, I wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be either. They were really, really close at the beginning of game 1. And I was very, very proud of what happened from AOE Brady because, like we said, they've been developing. They got just destroyed in their first series against Illinois State. And yes, they lost game 1, but at least they made it remarkably close. They had a lot of things going for themselves. They just got to put the pieces together, I think, in this one is goodbye, Miss Jinx. That also might get banned away, so that would be another goodbye Jinx that we have to say on our broadcast. AOE Brady stays on blue side, sticking with the Morgana ban. Honestly, I don't think I have to do too much different. I'd like to see a bit of a different composition. Again, the Xerath kind of got fit into this weird place. But outside of that, AOE Brady could, for the most part, run it back. I think they played the early game very well.
I'm more there with you. I think AOE Brady had a fantastic thing. I think the desk even talked about it a bit. You saw the draft and you're like, wait a second, hold on. Magic Resist is really effective against this Illinois comp. So it was just like, okay, compositionally, there was a lot of fault on Illinois' part of it. So AOE Brady, they had some stuff to calm down as my background decided it wanted to fall right there as Jeets was looking to revolt. But it is looking like it's going to be a very spicy time.
See, this is why I said you got to do the green screen and then green screen your background.
You're right. You're
then it can't fall or anything. Exactly.
It can't.
That's what I'm saying. Anyway, Morgana Rumble taking off the board against Simwell and Disconnect are both really good at the likes of the Rumble pick. We're not seeing anything different so far in terms of bans. This is where Jinx and Tristana slotted in the previous game. I'm curious if AOE Brady, knowing it's likely to be Tristana taken away for the other side, goes to something different. Instead, it's not. It's just going to be the Jinx. Probably going to be the Trist as well, just to make sure that gets taken away. Although Illinois could adapt and say, like, okay, we don't want Kai'Sa in this game. Of course, that gives Trist over. Maybe that's something that's even better for Vex. So it's up to them. I think Tristana's perfectly fine here. Just don't give that one away.
Yeah, I think you're probably right on that, right? Like, I don't think last game was a game of adaptation that was needed in terms of the bans. It was the picks and how you played them on the Rift that came out. We could see the run back similar compositions, and we could still see performance be the main thing we're looking at. Brady, y'all picked Hecarim first pick last game. Do you take it again?
I think that's good. I think it's a good pick for Clam, and I think it's perfectly fine in terms of the jumble matchups, no matter what you're playing against for the most part. You could go to a number of different things. Again, you still have Thresh and Rel both available as pop picks, but again, Hecarim seems to be the preference, still exceptionally good in the jungle. There's not much else that really contests against it. Yeah, I think it's going to be that, and that's exactly what they're going to do. Again, we're comfortable with them running it back. I would like to see them make some change, but again, if you run back the same general core of like Hecarim, Kai'Sa, Galio in your first 3 picks even, I would not mind in the slightest. I think that's perfectly fine from AOE Beta, because those were not the pieces that really had struggles for the most part.
Yeah, it wasn't really the parts that were at fault there. Seraphine getting grabbed again here. Does have that flexibility still, as we talked about in the last game. So we'll be seeing that flexibility comes out and see how they end up playing it. Didn't work out as intended in the bot lane last time.
No, not perfectly in the early game. The ultimates were clutch as all things, because that was what got them out of the early game for the most part, was hitting those multi-man ultimates on the side of Disconnector with the likes of the Seraphine. If it weren't for those, that game could have been very different, but the Disconnector absolutely clutched very, very well for his team, as they're not going to shift things up either. I still do think, again, as the ADC position similar to the mid lane position, but I do really like either one of those 2 positions instead of support and set. So seeing now that Disconnector can play it, I like that there's a lot more flexibility within the tank. It's like, okay, support's a lot worse now for the Seraphine because of the items and having to buy full items to get that additional charge on like Moonstone if you're going to go for that. But now if you do go that, you get more items, and if you don't, you can build a lot more damage to the expectation for mid or for bot, and the Ludens is what came out in the previous game. So that's all acceptable stuff for either of the carry positions, as we're getting a run back for the most part. I wouldn't even care about Galio here. Again, keep the option open for the flex for Robbie Bob, but again, that was good for Skytech. Played it pretty well in the earlier stages of the game, in the early laning phase, paired it alongside the Kai'Sa extremely well. Got no problem so far.
Yeah, I right now I'm thinking you're running back a lot of things that were very effective for your team. Everything has been the same here. It feels like I'm kind of having a case of deja vu. Vladimir, is it getting picked right here?
I think if anything gets subbed out, it might be the Vladimir, only because the early game is kind of difficult to go to. If you're on the side of Illinois State, you can't really bank on it the way that other champions do, but they were comfortable with how Drudozer played it, so they're running it right back. This is where I think the discrepancy really does start to come in, though, because now you got like, okay, now second stage bans start to get a little bit less, you can target a lot more, because the really powerful stuff is for the most part off the board, and they have a better idea of what they're going to be going for on both sides here. As Illinois State, like I said in the previous game, if you go ADC, you give that away, but now that you know Seraphine's not going to support, it's support that you're going to be picking on R4 instead, since now you see the Galio matchup. That still opens up AOE Brady to be able to counter pick and throw Galio in the mid lane where Robbie Bob takes that champion, but that's for an issue down the road, at least a little bit. If they've got something good, they can take something, otherwise Galio can just slot into that bottom lane slot. As I think we stuck with the Rise that was actually banned away in the previous game as well. I would like to see a little bit of adaptation though.
Yeah, AOE Brady, I believe they did Thresh and Shogath last time.
Yes.
So there's the Thresh.
It was Shogath Thresh though. It was Shogath and Thresh.
Yeah.
So maybe we get a chance.
Maybe. You're telling me there's a chance.
Telling me there's a chance. Yes. Thank you. I love that both my play-by-play and my producer said that joke at exactly the same time in my ear. So thank you both for that. I'm sure all of the desk also said all of that joke at the same time. I just didn't hear them. So.
Yeah, obviously. Silas getting taken off the table here. So. It's a Jet again. Same old. We'll have to see. Does it remain the same?
We'll see. Yeah, see. This is perhaps the one that we might see actually get changed up. If the Cho'Gath gets taken away, it's because you don't want something for ShamWow here. As they're going to finally swap it to the Camille. Okay, perfectly comfortable. You're making sure that ShamWow can't get something he can carry on, instead putting him on something a little bit slower, like the Cho'Gath, like the Scion in a blind situation when you pick it up, but it should be counter picks. Now it's support. What do you pick at support right here? Says you're probably not putting the Seraphine into that bottom lane. It will likely be into Galio as well. It could be Bard, to be quite honest, because it didn't work out too poorly, but that early laning phase was so bad that I can't really get behind this. It's not that Nazca played it badly, because in the later stages it went okay. That early laning phase was kind of a mess. And if he runs back W start, man, it's not going to look good. That's just opening yourself up for Vex and Skytech to go through this early game in the same way we saw last time.
Yeah, and it's also like when you get hurt in lane like that, he wasn't ever able to leave lane ever, man. Like it was a rough time there. But Seraph hovered, not locked. AOE, they're thinking about it. What do they want to get? What is the actual thing? I definitely say, oh, there it is, Leona. This is the adaptation here. Leona getting picked up in that support role.
Yep. Still a champion that, like, in the right situation, you can try to get aggressive onto the Bard because he is very squishy. It's another champion that Bard's got a lot of skill matchup into, so the better a Bard player, the easier it is for that matchup to go through. They might go back to Aatrox. I don't think Solidified played it perfectly. Of course, it puts into the likes of the Camille matchup, so maybe that changes because that's gone this game. There's nothing to come to, but perhaps that's the one change I would have had from the side of AOE Brady, where now it's going to be the Galio mid lane. They're putting a lot more eggs into the Vex basket after what happened in game 1, which I don't disagree with, but you do still need more damage, and putting it onto Solidified after that first game's potential, this is even, it hurts.
We got a viewer game, baby. Sham, wow. I'm telling you, man, hey, last game I used it, he's looking to coin that phrase, man. No Sham all wow up here in the top lane, man. He's looking to duel out with the Solidified here, and Solidified just can't catch a break, right? He's like, man, give me Aatrox. It's unbeatable. Camille gets fit. He's like, all right, maybe, hold on. Let's run it back. Give me Aatrox again. Listen to me, guys. I got this. There's no way there's any other champion out there that could possibly be bad for Camille. It's going to be a Fiora. Oh, I'm back in this lane.
There's a few things about this. So for one thing, if the lane goes the same way, this is going to be horrible for Solidified. This lane goes very heavily. It's a super, super skill-intensive lane between the two of them. Do not get me wrong. If Solidified plays it well, he can absolutely win the matchup, absolutely win the lane, and is a far superior team fighter to what we see from the likes of this Fiora. As you don't have the diving capability. The E is not there, so the hook shot can't get you to backline. The ultimate's not going to single out targets and give you extra bonus damage, but Fiora is incredible in the one-on-one up against the likes of the Aatrox, especially after first item, and into the laning phase, and especially into later stages where you start pushing towers and things, and that's where the strength lies. So ShamWow leaning against the, okay, I'm going to help join the team, and more into the, I'm going to beat Solidified to a pulp inside of the laning phase, which happened to go pretty well for him last time. So it is ISU going to a little bit less of the team that is the 5-on-5 fight without the Camille, but they still have the general premise of it, where you've got the Vladimir, you've got the Seraphine, you've got the Bully Bear, and all of those pieces when put together do a ridiculous amount of damage.
Yeah, it's like the song says, man. Instead of the hips, the CS didn't lie last time. You got to see how everything played out for the side of ISU in terms of the solo lanes. And it was one of those things where it was a really good thing. I honestly, I'm excited to see Fiora, just because of the fact I think Fiora has a place inside of competitive, and it is in that, like, high carry potential, I am going to mess you up style of mismatch, right? And this is exactly the situation. I feel like after game 1, you felt this out. Small adaptations being made from both teams, but they have huge implications.
That you do. You have really, a drastically different look, at least on the one side, where now it's Galio in the mid lane, so they're playing a lot more to the likes of the Kai'Sa. So you have to be a bit more careful for your Vex in this one, because like if you're playing front to back, you now have the bodies to put in front of him to be able to do that kind of thing. But also Kai'Sa has to be able to work through that, and Kai'Sa is not where she was before, where like you could just destroy a tank on the front line. It was hard enough to get through Volibear in a front to back in the previous game, let alone now a Volibear and the likes of the Seraphine, which is healing them, and the Vladimir, who's healing and is a big tank because of the health pool that's available. There's struggle there, but it is a bit more kind of a head-to-head 5-on-5 because there isn't that diver anymore from the Fiora. But that means that now Solidified has to kind of lock down his play and make sure that he's competing in this side lane. Otherwise, that's another win condition. So it's opening doors and closing doors, like you said, for both compositions, where they're opening up things that worked for them in the previous game and trying to close off some of the weaknesses that they had on both sides.
Yeah, and the weakness is definitely very telegraphed, I feel like, too, right? Like both these teams, and you can kind of have I think all the observers, anybody who's watching the game, are able to kind of get in grasp of those situations. But here we go. Going into game number 2 here already. Rebel's a little bit happier as Robbie Bob is getting caught out of position. That's a route to connect, looking for a possible stun, a cosmic binding, but beautiful from Solidified to keep them okay. Beautiful flash. Barn really looking to put out the stops here early on.
Nausicaa wanted the smoke, wasn't able to find the Q, unfortunately, but I will say I think that's actually more valuable for the side of AOE Brady. Yes, flash on Galio is super valuable, but because you can't flash taunt anymore, it's more like a flashing offensive way trying to set up your E or something like that. But now Bard without flash, we saw what happened in the previous lane when this had come through, and now there's all of a sudden a Leona and the likes of Akaisa in this lane. So Nausicaa has to play a little bit more reserved. Did go Q start this time instead of W start, knowing you don't need that same kind of sustain for the Vladimir to begin the laning phases. It's not the Xerath that's going to be there, so at least have that tool. But no flash on the Bard is something that could be exploitable by Clam and by Skytech to get Vex an early lead. That is something to pay attention to in this early game.
Absolutely is. As you can see already, a little bit of trading going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Skytech doing his standard bit here, saying, all right, I'm just going to stay inside this bush. And I'm just going to wait until you get a little bit too close to me. And you can see ISU trying to just keep their distance.
Yes, I believe Skytech actually started Q. I'm not sure about that, but it looked like that was the case.
Mm-hmm.
And so waiting for this quick level 2 is they're going to try to get to this as fast as possible. The wave is kind of like Vex still has 2 minions to burn through before the initial 3 minions that need to be taken in wave 2 to get level 2. I love that the camera's just stuck here right now because we are waiting with bated breath to see what happens. I got to see Vex throw this Q because as soon as this wave is gone, this is going to be an immediate engage into these squishy bot laners, but it's early level 2 for the Seraphine Bard. They're not going to be able to make this play happen, and they're going to get shoved out a little bit, and now the play is at least somewhat dead.
Yeah, this is where we saw the early game action last time. Flip it over to the top side. Solidified not having a fun time against Fiora. Surprise, surprise. We all saw that from the moment Fiora got drafted up.
Yes.
And yeah, you can even see Solidified's actually scared of a dive. He just immediately put a ward down behind himself.
Oh, actually, because of the use of that W right there, was able to get a little bit of trade damage back, but that is an early slam from ShamWow. 3 waves crashed into that tower, as it's going to be a very early little recall to come out from the likes of ShamWow to get some early itemization and try to bully out Solidified even more from what we saw. It's going to be a Cull and a Control Ward start. I'm curious if the TP comes out, that means that they want to put pressure, but again, if you look where GFP ended up, went from top side into bottom side to go to bottom side Scuttle instead, which is going to, it means that GFP is nowhere to your top side, so there's no dive to come through. So instead, just going to let Solidified bounce the way back into the middle and look for something else. Clam is on bottom side looking for something. Nausicaa has no way out. Portal's the only way to get through.
Yeah, he just gets out though. I mean, it's Bard. He's able to make sure he doesn't have any other CC to worry about there. So the Bard able to make a sweet escape there. And this is kind of what we wanted to see a little bit more from this bot side here. There's not that chaos that's happening, and it's in favor of ISU in the bot lane.
Yeah, I almost am a little disappointed, only because it looked like Clam could have maybe punished a lot harder there, but it didn't look like Skytech and Vex were within range to be able to punish what just happened. So not going to see that one come through, but the bot lane still does continue. ShamWow does get back to lane as well. Solidified wasn't able to full push that in, so at least a little bit problematic now, where Solidified could be stuck here without an item by Drew Dozer. The W just outlasted the W coming through from Robbie Bob, so not going to get caught up in the taunt and end up losing his life. We'll have to TP back, but at least Robbie Bob doesn't walk away with an early kill.
Yeah, I like to think whenever Galio goes for the taunt, he's just yelling insults at whoever he's going at. You know, that's why he can only have it up for so long, right? He runs out of oxygen to continue yelling these insults. So
okay,
a little bit of action maybe on the top side. No, I'm just gonna clear a ward.
Yeah, remember that early cheater? Wherever that control ward right there. Protected and made sure that there's no gank onto the Fiora. Stopped Clam, doesn't burn the flash. Nicely played from ShamWow. Able to get that little bit of vision, which prevents. You don't often see the effects of vision very visually, but right there was a good example. Is in the mid lane. Here comes Drew Dozer with Skytech and Clam around. Oh!
Yeah, the stun connects onto Clam. Drew is going to be able to get plenty of HP back, and beautiful flash to come out from GFP. Make sure he gets out of harm's way, and it's as simple as that. Just good moves coming out from the side of ISU to avoid this early aggression of AOE.
Yep. Much faster movement. They're playing to Clam right now, where Robbie Bob and Skytech are actually sitting behind. Nausicaa is finally here, but it should be a couple of these Raptors kind of pilfered away on the opposite side. Although ISU, they want the smoke right now. They're looking for the 3-on-3.
Yeah, they said pull up, let's go. But it's going to be first blood, a second one to follow. ShamWow will be able to find the kill onto the Leona into the bad side, but it's going to get thrown around and get his world rocked. That's a double kill going over to Clam. And that is 3 kills in favor of AOE in the jungle.
Excellent little play from the side of AOE. ISU, they kind of over-grasp on what happens right there, giving away 3 kills for 1. It does go on a Fiora, which is one really big aspect of that you do have to pay attention to. But this play kind of goes awry pretty quickly. This is a 3-on-3 where they're like, okay, we can burst the Leona relatively quickly, but all Skytech has to do is get that stun. Now, all of a sudden, W and Aftershock make you very deceptively tanky, can't get the burst, and 2 members go down immediately. And again, Vladimir doesn't have the most damage anyway. Yes, ShamWow is able to get this trade kill pretty quickly, but once the W's down, no defense for the Fiora either, ends up getting run down by Clam, where now Hecarim has 2 kills, and a kill goes over to the Galio as well to try to put some extra pressure. And that whole time, also, no pressure forced by Disconnector, as the CS lead was already in favor of Vex. They just shoved the wave under tower, but it's not going to mean anything either, as now complete control, again in this early game, going to the side of AOE Brady, finding themselves a couple of good plays.
ShamWow looking to just terrorize Clam here. Does have the backup of GFP, but the Cavalry is a little bit late there. That's going to be a kill that goes over, and now they're going to jump over the GFP. GFP has to make a quick escape, but that is a bit of a miscommunication there for sure, as GFP looking to possibly try and tussle this one out a little bit more. Heroic Entrance coming on in is going to be able to get the knock up onto GFP, and the chase has finished. It finds its prize. Drudozer gets his escape cut off and has to create a new one. Flashes out of there, but 2 kills over to AOE.
That it is. Finding another overextension. For some reason, ShamWow got a little bit antsy. He's in the jungle alongside GFP looking for an invade, but you just don't usually win those against the likes of the Aatrox and the Hecarim early. And yes, I think Clam got a bit greedy there, hadn't backed quite yet to spend all of the gold that had come through from the 2 kills, and maybe that's what they were trying to punish. But Robbie Bob's ultimate was up, so even if that fight goes even for you and goes 1-for-1 to start, you're definitely losing a second member. And Skytech, I got to watch the roam all the way up, now looking for another play under Drudozer.
Yeah, Drudozer, he doesn't have flash. He has the pool available, of course, but the Xenoplay connects. Skytech makes a play, and Robbie Bob is going to be able to get the spoils of that.
Skytech, you legend. That was a perfectly timed, perfectly aimed E, right dead center of that W, underneath the tower, right as he comes out as well. There's almost nothing that you can do right there if you're Drudozer. You're just hoping to dodge out that E. Maybe he could have gone pure backwards right there. Looked like he was trying to just stay relevant or stay close enough to the wave, but it just doesn't matter. As Skytech now with 2 roams, they haven't been able to punish on bot side either. Vex has just been sitting here farming adequately, beating out Disconnector ambiently, despite the fact that he's had a Bard in the lane alongside the Seraphine. That's kind of the aspect of having the control mage. As again, AOE Brady, their early game has been impressing. This is the play. Oh, I love this E. Just watch.
It's so beautiful.
This thing of beauty. Just we'll sit in silence and watch.
Just beautiful.
Just quite exquisite. Yes, Skytech.
Quite exquisite. Yes. As Drudozer is going to find himself getting hit with another taunt. Another insult comes his way, and he will have to back up again. He's not just now hitting level 6. I do want to talk to you about that, man. You bring up an excellent point. This Leona has been constantly all over the map, and Bard is the champion who you expect to be doing this and hasn't found any success with it.
We'll notice the strategy shift also, which is crazy from the side of AOE Brady, where game 1, Vex was all of the attention they were getting. Some of that was off the level 1 play, which I can attribute to the fact that AOE Brady was doing really good noticing the fact that there was play to be made on bottom side. Same thing existed in this game, but instead of putting a lot of pressure towards Vex and putting a bunch of gold in his pocket, just like with a bunch of kills and fighting and stuff, instead, they've gone to the opposite side and they say, okay, our early game needs to be situated to make sure Solidified and Robbie Bob can stay relevant and make sure Clam can. And so they've been roaming into this mid lane. This could be nothing at all because Skytech's just way too tanky.
Yeah. ShamWow just going to trade back here on the top side too. GFP is here to make sure nothing bad happens. So nothing too crazy happening. They just wanted to give you the threat that something might happen. Oh, yeah. Wait, hold on. Maybe something is happening. They're looking for it. The challenge has been thrown down. It's going to be a lot of regen coming through, but Solidified's going to be able to live through all that. GFP is going to try and tango with the rest of them, but it is going to go down. Double kill going over to Solidified on the Aatrox.
And this is why you play towards this early game, because again, if Fiora gets rolling over top the Aatrox, it's tough for the Aatrox to ever come back in, but now that the lead is held the opposite direction, Solidified feels a lot more comfortable. Only down CS, 10 CS at this point, has the Bramble Vest, so can't really be all in by the likes of ShamWow to start with. This is a lane you're comfortable playing. You see that with Clam as well. This Hecarim's going to be able to hit as soon as the item, the first item, as well as the buttes are completed, with Lucidity being done right now and the Chem Tank being done in just a minute. That's going to be really hard to try to deal with across the entire map. And now that Robbie Bob has a bunch of prevalence in mid lane, all of a sudden this mid game gets so dangerous. Look at Drudozer, man. He's just getting bullied by this Galio right now.
Oh, man, one more attack of the winds of war, and that would have been enough to blow him away. Drew Dozer has to make a quick retreat, but over here into the top side of retreat is happening instead. A heroic entrance to come on in, join them on up. Harabi Bob makes sure to secure the kill, and that is a rampage on the Gallia.
And it is. This top side is now completely self-sufficient. I think it will eventually come down to they will need to shift this into Vex at some point just to make sure that Vex can carry them through some of the later game fights, because you're still going to see that coming through from Drew Dozer and from Disconnector as they have this good 5-on-5 that they're going to want to play towards. But right now, this top side is so far ahead, there's very little aggression that can come out from ISU that's going to work. It's a 4,000 gold advantage in their favor, and the difference is it's not all in just Vex, so they don't just have to worry about him fighting his way through a bunch of enemies. Instead, it's all of this top side that's gotten this big gold advantage to make their own plays in the laning phase. Now, if you shift it into Vex, all of a sudden your mid game fights look so much stronger on the side of AOE Brady than what you saw in the previous game. I love this kind of strategy swap where they've attacked this middle of the map much harder to make sure that they can have this. And now even Solidified is going into the likes of the Aatrox to put some damage in. That is some hefty damage. Solidified popping off against Drew Dozer.
Yeah, laying into that little man, that first item Bramble Vest, too. Not exactly Vladimir's best friend here.
Do you remember getting upset early in the game before Robbie Bob had actually got that aggression against him? It's because Robbie Bob had the okay. Right there, the flash burn by Drew Dozer. It's because he didn't have the Dark Harvest and the Rabadon's type of like runes that I was expecting. Instead, has the Aftershock. Notice what he built first. He did Magi's first. If you have Dark Harvest, there is nothing that stops Galio from just obliterating everybody. I'm so upset that Robbie Bob was not building that one and going for the full AP style. Oh. Hello?
It's one.
Hey.
Yeah, I'm back, and Disconnector is taken out. Everything froze for a moment there, and here I am. It just wanted to show me a glimpse of what's to come, and Solidified getting jumped onto in the top side. He has the World Ender, but the only thing being ended is himself shut down for ShamWow.
Yeah, well played. They do finally shift into bottom side, where Rift Herald's going to be put down, and Vex is going to be the sole kind of attributor of this gold. Last play is going to be a little bit difficult to try to pull down, but they will be able to get it eventually. And that's traded for just the one kill on Fiora on the cross side. It was a shutdown, and the gold does now favor Fiora in that one-on-one matchup. But again, your top side is strong enough where now you can't just get bullied off by ShamWow, by Drew Dozer. They can't take over fights for the most part unless you're able to get perfect ultimates from everybody. And now this gold gets put into the pockets of Vex, who's already doing well on his own to get everything. They can't get a second charge. Very nicely played by Disconnector to make sure that's the case. But on the other side,
getting jumped onto the Xenoblade right after. This is a magical journey, but it's just going to be you floating down the river, buddy. Drew Dozer gets taken out.
All right, yeah, they're not going to go for Bard either. Okay.
Yeah. I is using a dire straight, though, right now, man. 12-2 this time around. And both their kills are on the Fiora here. Another Drake going over to AOE. AOE definitely amplifying the early advantages that they had. As I say this, Solidified is looking to get jumped onto. It's a 1v3. The stuns are there, the CC, the Thunder, the Lightning. It's a kill to go over to ShamWow. Eventually, there it is.
Yeah, I got a little dicey at the end because they were trying to get the kill into Fiora. I'm curious what, like, their win condition right now almost seems like ISU's like, okay, we're never getting a 5-on-5 fight that's going to operate for us for at least the next 10, 15 minutes. And we have 10 minutes on Drake, so we're not really fighting around those either. So there's no chance we're getting Soul. All we can do is throw gold into ShamWow and hope that this side lane pressure is going to be enough for us to contest in the later stages, which I'm comfortable with. But this is something you should have been doing from the beginning of the game to start things off, not like 14 minutes in when you realize that you have no strategy to attack the middle of this map, because now all of a sudden AoE's doing the same thing on the other side, but with this super fed Gallia, with this super fed Hecarim, and now Vex is going to start to get a bunch of that gold. And again, they have 2,000 or 2 dragons in their back pocket with a 6,000 gold lead at only 15 minutes, which is humongous for this team to be able to actually find. So it's a little curious to me, if ISU actually is capable of getting ShamWow to a point where you can carry over top of what AoE Brady is bringing, to sense of effectively now all your gold is only in a melee carry Fiora, and there's not much else to be done. They're shifting here, but this doesn't look like a fight they're going to want to take.
Yeah, Bart's getting caught out of position there. Magical Journey is not going to be enough to get away from Vets. The damage is coming through over onto the back end of the fight. Disconnector gets taken out as well. GFP trying to make his escape. Vets is there to lay in some damage into him. Fiora over onto the top side, getting jumped onto by Clam, but that is another 2 kills secured by AOE.
Now this, they're going to collapse on mid tower now. It looks like a TP at the bottom lane. They're
looking for Solidify picks up the kill here. ShamWow is in the area, but it doesn't matter. Another TP. ShamWow, where are you going? Where are you at? The hero punch coming at you live. Robbie Bob is going to be able to shove ShamWow off single-handedly. GFP doesn't want the smoke, and it is just going to be ISU really having to play back here. This is almost a 10K difference in gold here.
Mm-hmm. You saw right there what happens is AOE Brady attacks the top side of the map, which gives them a bunch of gold, and yes, they get a bunch. But more importantly, they're denying a bunch of resources to ShamWow. So ShamWow's like, I got a TP bottom lane to try to cover Drew Dozer in this fight up against Solidified, but he finds a kill up against Vladimir solo because of how weak Vladimir is. Drew Dozer's got nothing right now, no completed items, not a ton of cooldown reduction, cannot take a single engagement into any members of this team right now, and just goes down way too quickly. If ShamWow stays in that fight in the one-on-one, I think Solidified just finds that fight kill as well, ends up walking away with 2 kills under his belt, and the rest of the map won. And you saw mid lane gets taken down by Vex, top lane gets taken down, or at least really heavily damaged here by the likes of Hecker. Actually got brought down.
Drew Dozer in a bad spot, has to pull, has to flash. Xenoblade not going to be able to get that there. Skytech, we'll give you a pass on that one after some of the earlier Xenoblades inside the game. But still, it's the side of AOE. They've taken the tempo and they've completely made it their own inside of this game number 2.
That they have been able to take everything all at once. It feels like is like I said in that last play. You find the kill bot lane, you find the kills top side, you find the top tower, you find the mid tower. You're getting Rift Herald right now. This is the early game that I thought AOE Brady really needed to find in the last game. It was absolutely necessary for them to win because of the team fighting style that had come out from ISU, and they got some of it, but they didn't get all of it. And they were able to give kills over to the opposite side. Drew Dozer was relevant, Camille was relevant, but now no one is relevant right now on the side of ISU. You don't really have a winning lane to play to. Your team fight isn't anywhere near as strong as it could be right now. Look at the item differences. Look at Kai'Sa versus the likes of the Seraphine. You got 2 completed full items on Kai'Sa, including completed boots, and it looks like only just now Mythic item is going to be completed for Disconnector. That's an entire item difference that has been started here in just the ADC position alone. The same thing can be said of mid lane, where you have the full Magi's over top of your counterparts. In the top lane, you got the entire Bramble Vest over your counterparts. There's just way too much gold on this map for ISU to handle. I don't know how they climb back into this one, because now your side lane is still probably at least a little ways out from winning in the one-on-one to be able to split push for wins, and your team fight is, I would argue at this point, really, really far, 15, 20 minutes, if ever, out the door for them to be able to find, unless they get into 60 minutes, 6 item everybody territory.
And it's ISU in a troublesome situation. They're trying to identify what kind of win condition they might be able to find here, but as the game goes on further and further, the straits get dire and dire here. As you can see, ShamWow just taking half of his HP bar away. Killer Instinct coming out. You can repose what you want, but death comes for you swiftly. It is going to be the Bard making the tower go golden. Sure, you dodged out on the charge coming out from the Herald. It's going to be another one coming at you, Inhibitor.
Fool, you've only maintained the health bar of the Rift Herald.
Oh man, Onslaught of Shadows coming through. They're going to be able to lay out the team fight into the bad side. It's going to be GFP getting taken down. Climb is on a rampage. That's a tower to taken down. Vex, DeAndre Spurn isn't enough. And, Rock Bob once more smells blood in the water. Not going to be able to find it though.
No. Instead, they'll take their 2 towers on bottom side. I guess Solidified's going to find a solo kill on the top side as well. Again. That tower also likely falls. Yeah, again. And then Dragon's going to get taken too. So again, it's just AOE Brady with such a strong early. Oh, this might be.
Skytech cut out.
Heroic
Interest is coming through here, though. They have the TPs. They're looking to follow up. They said, Skytech, you beautiful man. This is the engage you were looking for here. Magical Journey is going to be used against them all. It's going to be a 1-for-1 so far, but they're looking to claim more lives. Disconnect. They're not going to be hit by the taunt. Goes gold and solidifies over here, slamming down the sword of Vets. We're going to be able to find a triple kill. And yet again, AOE, they have one member get caught out, and they immediately jump on the ISU. It was a bait all along, baby.
Yeah, the funniest thing is, I expected this play to go over because, ISU can just sit there, catch waves as they come in, and give the Dragon over. Instead, ISU's okay, maybe we can find some semblance of a team fight on the back of a Dragon take that's coming through from AOE Brady, since, the Aatrox on the other side of the map. But they have no Vladimir, because Vladimir got killed on the other side of the map, and they get caught out, and they try to get even a pick onto SkyTech, which they do get, is it's an Imperial mandate, and also is that an Oblivion Orb in the inventory of SkyTech, just going nuts at the AP in this game, and they do end up getting that, but they end up losing yet another whole set of kills coming over to the side of AOE Brady. They're just bleeding out gold at this point, and I'm willing to call this one completely in favor of AOE Brady at this point. It would require so much for the side of AOE Brady to just give away to the side of ISU for anything to come through at this point. Like, you're not getting to pass probably 30-minute territory. With 11,000 gold lead at this point, with this composition, there's very limited chances you're going to be given at all to try to come back into this one.
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like, you were already talking about it. Like, you got an Imperial mandate, Leona, man. Like,
it's an AP Leona.
this is literally these solar flares are catastrophic, man. It's like the my eyes thing. You stare up at the sun, their eyes start to fizzle out. This is what the side of ISU is starting to feel, man. There is a 12K difference just about in favor of AOE. This game, like you said, this is a much more definitive game coming out from the side of AOE here. And not only are they playing to the strengths that we saw them play in game one, they've created new strengths with this composition that they've only made really one subtle change, which is moving the Galio into the mid lane and taking Leona and putting it inside the support role.
That it was. And now they're probably just going to walk away pretty free, like hands-free, this Baron. You don't actually have full vision on this. They know it's happening, but there's not much else to do, and that's bad.
Goodbye. You make Vets go golden, but the rest of the team is still here to play. That's a huge taunt to be able to hit into the Vet side there. And GFP trying to kite out for his team. Disconnector is going to go down, though. It is just this Bard and the Fiora left standing. The Bard gets taken out. Fiora's minding her business in the bot lane. This is just catastrophic, and ShamWow's even taking his time with the cannon here. He don't even have a Hydra yet, man.
This is so I think it's worthwhile, I guess, talking about what our strategy is now for game 2 for the side of ISU, because at this point, this is 2 early games in a row that you've lost pretty handily to the side of AOE Brady. And yes, in game 1 you were able to turn it, but that was off the back of some impressive ultimates and a really superior team fighting comp, as well as Vladimir not falling behind early. But this second game has given us light really heavily to what AOE Brady is capable of doing when they attack mid lane and the rest of top lane, and they have this spectacular early game all across the map, and Vex's ability to carry. This doesn't even matter at this point. Drudozer's hoping to get 1 kill and does actually find Flam, but Baron's down and there's still a 20,000 gold or 15,000 gold lead, whatever it might be, as they could just try to walk down mid lane at this point.
Yeah, like, you don't have your Vladimir here yet. The Solar Flare doesn't hit anybody, but AOE still looking to continue it on forward. They're looking for it, man. They are looking for blood here. They are trying to put an image into ISU's brain, and that is AOE going to try and stand up on top dominantly here in game number 2.
And like I said, what do you do in game 3 now if that's going to come through? Because it's almost a certainty at this point that AOE is going to be able to win and take us to a game number 3 between these two teams. So what do you do to suppress this early game dominance that's come out from AOE Brady? Because so far, it feels like Gluten-Free Panda hasn't had too much of like an early game, despite having like the Volibear, which is pretty good at setting up tower dives. You keep going to the strategy of like, now it was like ShamWow had like the Camille for some early game in the one-on-one, and then they leaned heavily into it. Didn't work out too heavily in this one because Solidified was able to fight back quite a bit, and you have not one bot lane in either game early on between Disconnector and Noska. How do you bring it back? Is it a drafting problem? It doesn't feel like one right now, but maybe getting some earlier game champions, something for the side of ISU to fight with early on, because right now they just have nothing, and this game has shown just how easy it is if you lose the early game for AOE Brady to just take everything off the board, as this probably just ends up being the final push. They're just ramming down mid lane looking for the play.
They're just looking for it. It's nothing too special, man. It's nothing that's going to do anything too crazy. A beautiful Bard ultimate, but it's a little bit too late. It does seem GFP going to be able to survive for a little bit longer. ShamWow's going to be able to find a kill onto SkyTech. The HP bars are actually very low on the side of AOE, but it doesn't matter. Vets is going to be able to secure that kill for himself as well. Going to be able to just play this one out beautifully. He's having a little bit of cheeky fun there underneath the tower, laying out the damage, making Disconnector and ShamWow watch the towers as they fall. But taunt is enough to kill. Words can hurt.
Words can hurt. That they can. As this is just going to be a dominant win from the side of AOE. Brady, 25 minutes, not quite as slow as what we saw in the previous game, and just as dominant as what we saw early time. So like I said, if ISU is on the chopping block now, you have to consider what is possible. A 31 death game is not acceptable in 25 minutes from the side of ISU, and you have to fight back somehow. And right now, if they continue drafting for the Vladimir and the Seraphine bot lane, they can't. They can't do it. They gotta make changes. That's just like what has to happen. Not only in the draft, they have to come up with a game plan for Gluten-Free Panda to get you involved very, very early in the game. Otherwise, that exact early game is going to be what costs them pretty much everything in this series and ends up losing them this game against the team that they 2-0'd in week number 1.
I have to say, Rebel, you asked a lot of questions there towards the end, and I feel like as a viewer, as a spectator, there's a lot of them. Me personally, man, I'm going to be honest. Before we go over to this break, I'm going to answer what I feel. I want to see some agency come out from the side of ISU, right? Like they're taking Vladimir. The Fiora was spicy, sure, but I want to see something that has a little bit more agency if you're going to stick with the spot lane.
I think I have it. I think I have the solution. You ready for this one?
Okay, hold up.
Katarina. Not for agency, but because I want to see it. That's the reason.
Wait a second. Hold on. This is not agency.
It's not for agency. It's because I want to see it. Who knows? Or pick Katarina, please.
I thought you were going to be like, yo, Nautilus the Smith. Just bring it. Do B style. Let's go. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to take ourselves a short break. When we come back, we're going to be coming back with some urgency of our own to get back to that analyst desk so that way they can break it down and get us ready for game number 3. Make sure you stick around.
Welcome back to the next, ladies and gentlemen. Ravishing Home Pizza on Boulevard and Koskinen. I said it in the first game, but I'll say it in this one too, because I think and I find that it genuinely applies here. 11 years ago, Riot Games made something called League of Legends, and they put it out to all of us. Their games played day in and day out, and today, gentlemen, we just saw two of them. The one before was an actual game. This one, I can't be so sure. But I do want to start off with this, right? This is what we expect to see out of AoE's composition. It's the little run back between the back and forth, except the changing of one thing, which I said was ban Camille, and thank you for doing so. This is the potential we wanted to see out of AoE here, Koskinen.
Yeah, as I said with the game one, after game one, that AoE played the early game really well, and they had like a huge monumental gold lead. I think it was like 5,000 gold in like the early stage of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was all through their bot lane mostly and the jungler. They had some really good dives and it was really clean. It's well played. This game, they put on the brakes a bit. They were like, okay, they picked Vlad mid again. We picked this Galio early. That's a winning matchup. So we'll just leave it there. And we lock in Leona and there's like, we'll just hard play to mid because they just can't win the 3v3 or the 2v2. Like they just won't. They have Vladimir. And then they did that really well. I gotta hand it to the supportive AoE Skytech. Really good roams, really good rotations. He was just really giving it, really punishing that bad draft, in my opinion. And yeah, they just came out on top. They were up a monumental amount of gold again. Clam playing his butt off. Robbie Bob playing his butt off. Solidified doing really well too, and shutting down Sham Wow, who was such a huge factor in that first game. So yeah, AoE just played a lot better. I think the draft was a lot better. They were able to play to their strengths, and yeah, that's all there really is to it.
Yeah, I mean, long story short, that was what game one should have looked like. Even with the Camille pick of ShamWow, we saw a good early game from AoE yet again, because it's not too much different than how things went the first time around, despite the little bit of hyphiness you were talking about, Koskinen, that they very thankfully dialed back. But that aside, especially when you throw in a champ like Camille this time, or I keep saying Camille, Fiora in the top side, well, you can't team fight anymore. So the one thing you had going for you from game one is also gone. So going into game three, I hope ISU don't pick that champion.
Yeah, I gotta say, while I did bet AoE 2-1, and it's looking that way right now,
Did you think that was gonna happen?
ISU's not out. Like they just have to not pick the same 5 champions they picked in the first 2 games. I think if they just draft a little bit more standard, they stop picking these funky stuff. They stick to some more stable champions. They pick the OPs. I want to see Dissenter play an ADC really badly here. I want him to show us his mechanical talent off of just hitting 5-man Seraphine ults, which he can only do so many times. So yeah, I would be a little scared of Skytech roaming again. There was some really scary roams. They weren't able to match his macro pressure. But yeah, it's still not out of back for ISU. They just have to refocus, get on their drafting skills better. But AoE's looking really solid after that first game. Looks like they woke up. Looks like a lot more ready to play after that little hiccup.
Verse exists. Camille exists. Oriana exists.
Please.
I want ISU to be able to look at different champions in the board, just press that mid tab and anything, and any other champion you see beside the Vladimir, feel free to pick it.
I don't even know if he's
I mean, Kassadin. So be careful what you wish for.
Anything. I mean anything. Look, I understand you're confident in your picks, my brother, but like you gotta be able to see it, understand, realize when something is a little bit, man, it's just like it's not there as of yet. But ISU clearly showing ISU. We'll see what they decide to do. They're on blue side going into game number 3. Now we'll see if Rebel Fox and Travis D can show us the result of our predictions. See who's right tonight. Take away,
gentlemen. Thank you again, Des, for breaking it down ever so fantastically, as you always do. My name is Travis D. I am joined here by Rebel Fox. Rebel. We have a game number 3 here. And let me say, I was expecting a little bit of closer in game 2. Statement game was made by the side of AoE to bring this into game number 3.
Yeah, a lot of appreciation over to the side of AOE Brady, where they are able to generate these early game compositions, make those happen. Game 1, it didn't work out perfectly. You still had the dominant early game. Game 2, you figured it out, and you're able to actually put the pieces together and just destroy it all the way through. Now, we get a swap of sides. This almost certainly will indicate a very dramatic shift in how this game should likely be played, as that is, it just changes completely what the landscape of your draft is going to look like. So hopefully, again, I know this was brought up by the desk as well. Hopefully, ISU's draft does not look like the same 5 champions all over again, yet again, and maybe we'll get some better stuff here.
Give me some initiative, man. That's all I want from them. I want to see them pick up some in space, like I said before we went over to the break, hey, look, Drew Dozer, you're a guy with some unique taste. Okay, let me introduce you to some stuff like Nautilus Mid or something like that. I want to see more playmaking, man. I want to see more playmaking coming out of the mid lane. Vladimir, cool, he does a lot of damage, but doesn't really offer a lot outside of that, and that takes a while to ramp up.
This is a good team, man. Like they have good players. I feel like they're playing like this super 5 versus 5 oriented team, and maybe this is like a strategy. Maybe they're practicing something like this. This is a team of playmakers. Let them go out and
make
bust
plays.
Yeah, but bust some ass. Like I want to see. That's what I want to see. I want to see Drew Dozer on control mages. I want to see him on Vladimir. I want to see him come out and they cast it in and just whoop people.
Lee Sin mid. Let's go.
Close. I think the idea is there. So.
It would, yeah, but I'm right there with you, man. I want to see a little bit of more initiative come out. We're in the draft here. We do have them swapping sides around like we were talking about before, so we probably won't see the same identical drafting to come out here. But so far, the bans are staying the same. Malzahar not going over to Robbie Bob at all.
Nope. And now you have the ability to ban out kind of priority champions. You have to think Morgana's got to be on that list still. Everything else that got banned, I think, is potentially up in the air. Like, for example, I don't think you're banning Jinx. You're definitely banning Tristana if you're on the side of AoE Brady, just making sure you're not afraid more of the Jinx than the Tristana on blue side. It's just that they have to ban Tristana. You know that's going to come through. So now that they're on red side, that has to be the takeaway. Rumble makes a lot of sense, too. I still would think that the Morgana has to be banned just because you don't want Illinois State taking that one away as a flex pick on blue side. Is very powerful in multiple positions, but we'll see what they opt for. They just go for the Rumble first overall.
I am curious, actually. Like, do you leave the Morgana open to be like a little bit of juicy bait for Illinois and just be like, hey, here's the Morgana. They take it and they're like, Hecker, lock it in.
That's funny. Only because I think Morgana's clears faster than Hecker now. Which
it does, yes. Morgana clears faster than anybody.
The big reason why I think that's only harmful is because all of a sudden, if you pick Hecarim, even if it's a good matchup into Morgana, which I'm not convinced of in the slightest, but even if it is, you still don't have to put Morgana jungle. You can still put it bot lane if you want. That's what's it's really powerful to have a flex pick like that, but it's especially powerful to have a flex pick like that on blue side, since you don't have to give that information away for a very long time within the course of the drafting phase. So now AoE Brady, again, they say they don't know that. This time, Illinois State, they say, okay, we're not going to ban away the Trist. We're going to ban away the Hecarim to make sure that that's not taken by you. They've got something planned for this B1. You think it's Tristana? I'm curious if AoE Brady takes that one away. If that's the case, again, you still have plenty of supports you could go to with things like the Fresh, things like the Rel, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, I'm let's see. Got our last ban here. This is gonna tell us a lot. Udyr, for the first time inside the series, is getting a ban. So they're leaving both Tristana and Jinx available.
And that's reasonable. I suppose if they're willing to trade those two, that's at least one strategy you'd go to. I don't know if Illinois State was willing to take this just first overall. I know Gluten Free Panda is very good at the Udyr, but you have to think Trist is going to be on the table because you know Drew Dozer plays that champion. You know Disconnector plays that champion. Like, it's definitely flexible between the two.
Right now, I mean, we did see a slight hover there, but they still want the Seraphine. They are putting a lot of priority on Disconnector on the Seraphine. It could still, shift around, but
is there something that stops just Tristana Hecarim here, and immediately this draft is just lost from State?
Yeah, Hecarim is taken off the table here, but you see it. You look over on this side. Jinx is available. They lock that in. They can still lock in Tristana if they want to.
Yeah, they could. If you lock it in now on the side of AOE Brady, you know it's not going into the bottom lane, so then it'd be like a top mid flex, which I don't really see happening. So Illinois State, they should take that one. That would then, of course, I think pinch Seraphine into mid lane though. So like you have to be really comfortable with your setup that's going to come in here from the side of Illinois State if you want to trade Tristana. Now, as it is Clam instead that's going to be opting for the Volibear, who again with Hecarim gone, now probably just the best blind jungler that exists right now, especially since like Udyr's gone as well. Very good clear, very good potential for the early game. He scales pretty well alongside like team fighting and the ability to tower dive. I know you were mentioning in the break how if you have champions that set it up, it does some really mean things, not just in the turret dive phase, but also during the team fight phase, which is what we saw in game 1 from the side of Illinois State. So going to go to Olaf instead. A lot of ability to set up Seraphine in fights. A good amount of, especially the encore being able to bounce off of him, really helpful. Still a little like just a touch weaker than some of the other junglers, but still very powerful nonetheless.
Yeah, and it's good into Volibear too, right? We've seen it multiple times get played in versus him inside the jungle and in the top lane. We got to see a little bit of that at the previous time. If this was locked in, it is Vladimir yet again. They're the run back on this. The Druidos are really wanting to have his time on the Vladimir, it seems.
I don't know what it's for. I really don't know what it's for. It's team fighter, but like it's not helping at all. If it goes back into the hands of Druidozer, I'm not sold on what this composition can do because they continue to go to it again and again. I'm cool with it top lane. If you're trying to prevent Solidified from doing anything, Solidified hasn't been able to generate much individual lane pressure without an advantage. So if you're just like soloing in the top lane with Vladimir, Shamrock just gets a free laning phase. So that's something to consider. But like they haven't been playing it there. And not only that, but if you put something in the mid lane that gets priority or can roam really effectively, like Galio, like Twisted Fate, anything like that, all of a sudden your Vladimir, who has no wave clear, can't do anything. So like, this is what we talked about during the break. We're like, okay, stop putting Vladimir mid. Like, just stop doing it. But apparently ISU is just convinced that this champion is so disgusting that it needs to belong in the mid lane. But you saw what happened with the Galio, so you have to think Illinois State's going to ban that away. Because you pick it at like R4 and you're done. Like, this composition starts to look really neat.
I'm also just... They got thrashed too, right? Like this is another thing. Like AOE Brady has actually gotten quite a few tools that seem like it's stuff that they're comfortable for, and now Brady are just saying, all right, now we don't have to pan away Thresh anymore. We can just target topside, and we're not gonna see Aatrox on Solidify this time around, so not gonna have that blind. But I'm assuming we are going to see something spicy coming out from AOE after this next phase.
It might. I am curious if they're waiting to give Robbie Bob a counter pick because they don't know where the Vladimir is going. If they're going to blind one of the two lanes, you have to think that it's probably going to be top, only because like Scion is still available to blind in the top lane, which is really good for blinding up on the top side. You still have other tanks that are going to come through as well. And again, our expectation is that right now Seraphine's going into bot lane because that's all that Disconnected played this entire series. That's still flexible to mid because you could still put Vladimir top. Again, there's still 5 HS that's capable of playing 5 Pater by the side of Illinois State. I'd like to see them access some of that because right now we haven't seen them really change too much up on their strategy.
Camille is still open, by the way. And oh, never mind, it's gone. I was curious on if it was going to be them first picking the Camille or what that was going to be here. But AOE, they have the ball in their court.
Yeah,
they decide they want to lock in.
They do. Again, if you're going for blind top lane here, like you just give away the Volibear flex and it's perfectly fine. I think that's okay for Solidified. Fantastic. This is the alternative, is if you're okay with the Orianna that's going in alongside the Volibear. This could be a solid team fighting tool. It's good into Vladimir as well. It's not super easy to try to kill in the laning phase. It's safe. This means they're giving counterpick to Solidified. That's a little intriguing to me because Solidified hasn't had the greatest like day. Even in game 2, it required a bit of jungle pressure just to get him ahead. Was dominating once he got to that point, but also Aatrox's been taken away. So they have to have something really, really unique or creative to try to beat this laning phase with.
Yeah, now it's going to be up to Illinois. What are you blinding up into the top side? Is it going to be the Vladimir? Is it going to be a Blitzcrank? It is going to be a Blitzcrank.
So now Seraphine's mid lane, or bot lane, of course.
Could be still bot lane, yeah.
I'm really, really keeping my fingers crossed that we're going to see something that gets picked in mid or bot right here, only because I do want to see Vladimir go on the top side, especially now. Like, what are you going to blind into Vladimir that's really, really good? I guess you could go Fiora, but you have to think Shamwar knows the other side of that matchup. I don't know what Solidified has prepared, but like Vladimir's pretty safe pretty much no matter what. Like there's not a lot of picks that are going to come through to be able to beat it. Something tanky could be really helpful too here because they don't have too much of a front line. Oh, there it is.
So that's the flits. They do the Vladimir flits. They send it up to the top side here. Yone in the mid lane to go into this Orianna. I do like this little bit of a switcheroo that Illinois has been able to do.
Yep. You got a lot of straight line attacks too. You got like Seraphine ultimate. You have like the axe from Olaf, and then you have like the ultimate from Yone, all in one singular direction. And as expected, again, AOE Brady, they snagged this Fiora away. In the range matchup, it's a little difficult for Fiora just because you can get oppressed by like Hughes, especially with the cooldown reduction from this patch from Vladimir. But for the most part, that percentage health and the true damage and the healing that can come out from Fiora is really difficult to deal with. You have to get ShamWow into the like team fighting phase. Otherwise, again, this Fiora will just stomp him in laning, which is it's been the opposite side. It's been ShamWow that's been doing that for the most part, except last game it really wasn't the case. But in game one, really heavily went that way. So now it's ShamWow's turn to try to play this like blind Vladimir and play defensively into the aggressive kind of solo split pusher that is solidified in this game. And
the big thing I wanted to look at too is the fact that we have seen the bot side actually be a very important part yet again. Yeah. It has been a constant thing of importance, as well as the top side of the map has been very much so a important part of the map inside of both games now. I'm looking over here, they switch around their components a little bit. They say, all right, Bard hasn't really been doing it for us. Let's go for something more aggressive inside of the laning phase and the Blitzcrank. But over on the other side, Brady said, all right, Kai'Sa, off the table. Jinx, though, Thresh, even better. I'm very curious, man. We're seeing a little bit more aggression that could possibly come out here from this bot lane as a 2v2. No jungler intervention needed.
We have two really good team fighting teams when it comes to their pure setup, because if you're able to put Vladimir's AoE with all this really square AoE that you got on the side of Illinois State, you can do some remarkable things to begin. And on the opposite side, it's the same. You can put Vlad or like a Bully Bear alongside like the Orianna. You get the ball delivery system with that big ultimate from Bully, and then into like rockets that are coming out from Vex. That's also exceptionally mean. So then the difference makers are Illinois State, I feel like, has a bit of a better early game because they've got Olaf to try to play and Blitzcrank to try to play. But on the other side, they have the split push that's going to be available on the map as well. So it's about where does Illinois State attack? Because it feels like they are the ones that should have the presence to begin with. And can they slow down Fiora on the top side from just abusing Vladimir out of the laning phase in general? If they do, they can start to link up for this 5-on-5 that we saw in game one, which was their strategy. Otherwise, then all of a sudden you have to deal with Orianna and Jinx scaling, which starts to become a pretty big problem.
Yeah, the Jinx scaling could be a bit of an issue for sure. As well as the Fiora in the sideline, man. I do have to say, you know, the memory is fresh in our head. Game number 2, we got to see Clam go up there into the top side. We got to see SkyTech have fantastic performances. The Zenith Blades had amazing accuracy onto them. You gotta think about those two things there, and the fact that Shamrock, you're on this Vladimir, it is a very volatile champion.
And especially into Fiora, it's a very volatile matchup, which is really tough for the Vladimir to just like win outright. So ShamWow's laning phase, now it plays very differently from what we saw the first two games actually play out to be. So there is that to consider as well. As the styles have now switched, at least to some extent, it feels like a lot more agency being given to the side of ISU to seal their own fate. And on the opposite side is a little bit more passive, a little bit less aggressive of the earlier game coming out from the side of AOE Brady. So we get to see what the flip side of the coin now looks like on both teams, where one team has a lot more control of their own fate to begin with. Can the other team cancel that out and actually look for the team fight that they've been looking for? I think one really big proponent of that is going to be this mid lane matchup, which so far has looked good for Robbie Bob in both games. Drew Dozer, of course, in game one scaled pretty well, but the laning phase wasn't going immaculately to start with. It was a couple of teleports that actually made Drew Dozer get through that laning phase effectively. So now you're seeing it's going to be the Yone from Drew Dozer to aggress into the safety of what the Orianna can bring, which is really good for Yone.
Yeah, and you know, I feel like this is a statement game that you get to see from Drew Dozer, right? He's been on Vladimir 2 games, and like you said it beautifully. In the game number 1, we got to see him make plays off of the teleports. He got a double kill early game. Woo! Vladimir, he gets to accelerate his game plan. In game number 2, he was dumped inside of the side lanes by the Aatrox. Like there was no hope at that point in time for Drew Dozer. This is his game to kind of come back and say, you know what, Yone, time to pop off. This is a champion to pop off on for sure.
That it is. I'm ready for that. It's not the Katarina, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
It's not the Nautilus mid. Also,
it's not the Lee Sin mid.
Not the Lee Sin mid either. Yeah, we came up with all the strategy. But Yone is something that's a lot more tempered, controlled, and it's very fun to watch when played in the hands of a master. We know Drew Dozer is capable of playing it as well. I have a lot of experience watching this champion within the laning phase because I'm able to cover somebody who plays a very, very high level version of this.
Oh God.
Boom. That's what I like to see. Now, earlier, I said that was a better, or like last game, I said it was actually a better trade for the side of AOE Brady, who was the one who ended up doing that, whereas the Galio for Bard, and it was better for the Galio because the Bard's flash was punishable. Exactly the opposite for now. It's much better for the likes of ISU, who are able to find the play, not only because of the Hex Flash from Nazca, but also because now Orianna suddenly is punishable within this laning phase, and it's a Yoni on the opposite side to be able to throw some harassment into her. That is a great way to start things off here from the side of ISU, and the early aggression we finally been missing has arrived.
That was the biggest brain invade I've seen in a bit, man. There's no secrecy to that. He just straight up poked out his chest at him and said, "Fight me, square up."
So listen, okay, that's a normal invade path. If you run directly up mid lane and then cut to a side rush, most of the time teams aren't putting even a member into that rush, right, into mid lane, right? So you don't see you coming from the side. Right there was a great example of, okay, you put somebody mid lane, they end up seeing, but now you have Blitzcrank sitting across from you, so you can't just like willy nilly run into the lane. And that was the problem right there.
Look, they were in formation on that one. You can't call that one. They were in the V formation there. Disconnector getting aggressed onto now. Not going to hit that hook, unfortunately. But the aggression in the bot side is already kicking off.
That it is. SkyTech wants it right now as Vex was able to put some extra damage. There's another flay. As wave control completely in their favor, that Q was huge from Disconnector to try to even out these waves. I want to see Vex really push for this level 2. One hook from SkyTech could absolutely seal the fate of bottom lane yet again, which could really push AoE Brady over the edge, because again, they're the ones without flashes, or Disconnector and Oscar now don't have flashes at all. As it doesn't look like they were able to punish that level 2 at all right here. Instead, they're just going to be able to sit around, keep this wave in the middle where they want it right now. So keep your eyes on junglers, as it is GFP making his way to bottom side, Clam making his way up towards top side to try to help support the Fiora and the Orianna in the laning phase.
And yet again, I do want to point out, we do get to see the Fiora of a CS lead, but this time around it's Solidified, who's pumping up the aggression in this early game. Really just a completely different look. Like we were talking about, we were wanting to see, all right, it's Solidified. Is this a champion you're going to be able to pilot? And he's doing it just fine.
You have a champion that could have fit into that spot. Oh, actually, I'm going to wait for this bottom side because, oh no, SkyTech got pushed in the wrong direction.
He's gone. It's done. It's over with. Fate has been sealed. GFP is missing stuff, so that's going to make him live for a little bit longer. But First Blood, while delayed, is going to go over to GFP.
Handed over to the Olaf on a silver platter. That's the benefit, I think, of them just like shoving up or keeping the wave in the middle right there. Nice pathing from GFP to find a play into the bottom side to help his bot lane out, as they were down completely flashless. Vex still has his, but SkyTech is down his, so 3 summoner spells for the remaining TP for Disconnector. That's pretty big for their laning phase. That could have gone very, very poorly to start with, as now Robbie Bob under some distress as he TPs back in. Nazca was here for the hook, but cannot find it.
Yeah, Trash trying to see if he'll be able to find it. He's trying to put in the pressure, and I'm liking this look here. He was playing the Bard. He was staying inside the landing phase for the past couple games. Now he's looking to match. SkyTech going to be able to land a death sentence onto the Blitzcrank, trying to see if he'll be able to deter something. He's going to take that punch to make sure he's going to get knocked on up. This is not the fight that you want to take. SkyTech, and that's going to be a kill. Going over to True Dozer.
Interesting. Both. I was a little curious what Nazca was up to right there, but was able to actually come away. I thought he was just going to end up getting bullied down by Robbie Bob and SkyTech on the side there, as he wasn't going to be able to find his way back into the rest of the jungle. Now Clam is as well.
Yeah, Clam is trying to lay out some damage onto Drew Dozer. Is going to be able to apply that slow, so nothing else to come out of it. They do have a ward there, so hey, there's a Blitzcrank and an Olaf. So good on them to be able to bat that up. Don't want to pull that bear in just yet.
And even without Hyper, they're still finding a way to be able to press for this very early lead coming out from the side of ISU. As usually it's Hyper who's the one kind of throwing his hands at the wall, trying to make something about the drywall, or at least bust holes open. But here it's actually the rest of ISU and their team being able to do exactly the same thing. SkyTech finds a bit of an angle. Disconnector thankfully spots him out just fast enough to be able to get away from that hook from SkyTech. Look at that level difference. It's 5 levels on Vex to 2 on SkyTech. Poor SkyTech got pushed out a couple of times, lost so much experience.
Yeah, he's the only person who's died on their team at the moment in time, and not a fortunate place to be. You don't want to spend your early game in the fountain. Unfortunately, that's where he's found his cot at, and that's where he's been resting his head, trying to see if he can make a play now that Vets is looking to recall. And we'll keep an eye on him as Clem over there towards the top side of the jungle as well. This is a funny little recall here.
No, so he can't. He's too far out in the river to spot the back from Skytech, and then he aims the hook instead, and he just hits the dragon. The dragon knocks him out of the back, but instead goes for the hook and can't find it. This whole time, I loved the fact that Disconnector, he saw this possibility with Gluten-Free Panda. So instead of freezing this wave, he instead pushes into river and pushes this wave out to make sure Vex has to catch this so they can go for this dragon. That interaction between Asuka and Skytech was funny, but overall, really great macro decision from the side of ISU.
Yeah, overall, it checks out overall. Skytech does need to be careful. The root does hit. No hook to follow it up just yet. But man, oh man, we're in for a doozy of a game number 3. I can already tell it.
Yeah, I can say one thing about both these teams. They've made their mistakes. They made their fantastic plays. They've both been fun to watch this entire time.
Yes, honestly, has not been a boring series.
Not in the slightest.
Ooh, Lantern Death Sentence doesn't connect. Beautiful attempt, but not going to be able to have any success come from it.
Yep, not going to be able to find that one. Flash for Flash yet again here, as it's going to be Threshes for the likes of the Seraphines. And I think, again, just being able to bully out some of these mage-type champions without flashes is humongous for the earlier stages of the game. They haven't been able to find it too heavily thus far. But Vex is level 6. One rocket could, spell death in the right situation. So now you're just looking to drop a little pot shots into the opposing team.
Yeah.
Really close there on the traps. If the traps land on Disconnector and he can't get out, then that hook also lands, and all of a sudden Disconnector is a very dead Seraphine. So thankfully able to sneak the way out of that one.
Yeah, Super Mega Death Rocket, emphasis on the death part, would have been the story of that. Solidified, by the way, is going for a different start than what we saw from ShamWow. A little bit of a comparison that we had to see, as ShamWow has wrestled back a little bit of a CS lead in favor of themselves. We're seeing the tier coming out from the Fiora this time around.
If this is very indicative of the fact that you want the tier to stack into a Seraphs for the AP scaling on your W. It's a really niche type. I'm just joking. It's Monimune. Sorry, I thought I'd catch you off guard with that one, and I thought it'd be funny. Slam.
You made me raise an eyebrow there, but the shockwave getting flashed away here. Robbie Bob now in a tricky spot. Clam is going to get knocked up and get taken on out. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Drew Dozer trying to see what he'll be able to do. Super Mega Death Rocket not going to be able to catch anybody else out of it. It's going to be the double kill going over to Robbie Bob.
Extremely close little fight right there. Nice plays on both sides. This is just a 2-for-1 coming out for the side of AOE Brady, as they were able to get 2 kills onto Robbie Bob. As they started off with an invade that walked in, and GFP was just trying to get away with murder, being able to take away a couple of camps. Clam comes to contest, but it's only a level 5 Volibear, so this Ragnarok gets him out. This is the cool part. You see this ball placement's actually amazing. Double flash from these two to dodge that out. All of a sudden, Robbie Bob's in a little bit of dire straits. Flashes over the wall to position a lot better, though. Is able to get him in a position where these auto attacks, these Qs are going to mean a lot more. Solidified's able to make this roam down, get an additional kill onto Orianna. Solidified, I don't know if it had the flash or not. It actually did have the flash during that engagement. Could have flashed the wall, look for the kill on Nanoska. Instead decides to hold that one instead. And the support of the mid laner does get Robbie Bob 2 kills.
Yes, and it's great for the side of AoE to be able to get that little bit of breath back into their composition here, as the gold lead has been in favor of themselves and just going to go away from whatever just flashed. They're trying to send it over to the desk for a moment there, it looked like, but we're back at it yet again.
All right.
ShamWow is caught out, and beautiful flash to come in.
Yeah, notice, if you will, also, ShamWow has turned this matchup on its head. Solidify did make that one move towards bottom lane, and now this wave is also going to get caught. But currently, or at least at the time of looking at that, 30 CS lead on the Vladimir, which is the big thing we wanted to highlight, which is that Solidify during the laning phase doesn't look good. Robbie Bob finds a solo kill, it looks like, into the Yone.
Yeah, he finds a solo kill there.
Okay.
GFP finds Skytech, though. Vets is now getting ran down. GFP is going to continue this on forward. The axes keep coming, and they don't stop coming. GFP is looking to, lay out some pressure on the
Interesting little trades across the map. Solo kill for Robbie Bob, and the Thresh kill yet again in the bottom river. I would have ascertained.
Beautiful from Robbie Bob there.
Footwork's incredible so far.
Yeah, looking great there. Grand Challenge has been thrown out. Going to go ahead and secure that, get a little bit of health, and pop that one on up. And Robbie Bob now sitting 4-0-0 on this Orianna, looking so clean.
they're just throwing clubs at each other right now, just over and over again. Kills being traded back and forth. Oh, look at that, Robbie Bob!
Oh, Robbie Bob is in such a terrible situation. True Dozer finds a solo kill to revenge it. Solidified gets the kill on the GFP in the jungle while this is all happening. Clam, he's just walking through the tower. He says he's just going to stop that tower from continuing doing that aggro. It's going to be the Lance that's going to be able to keep him, but it's going to be them pulling Solidified back on over here.
They're moving into the bounds of 9-dimensional chess, Travis. I don't understand. These fights are just constantly happening in multiple areas. They're slowly coalescing together.
Honestly, man, these plays are just constantly going on back and forth and back and forth. And TP down into the bot side now. It's Vets is getting jumped onto. ASA and bring it over. ShamWow finding a kill in the bot lane. And these teams are here to scrap.
That they are, man. And I was going to say Robbie Bob has 4 kills, no deaths, which means that, like, Oriana's in a fantastic place in this game. All of a sudden, Drew Dozer's picked up 4 kills. This is an uneven footing. This Vladimir's in a really great place. Pieces on both teams are doing really well. The one kind of X factor that usually is in AoE Brady's favor is usually this bot lane. Vex is not at this level of dominance. Still up 15 CS, don't get me wrong right now, over top of his opposition. But he's not at that super high level quite yet. Last game, it took about 15 minutes to start transferring lead, but that doesn't exist anywhere except for Robbie Bob. So now you got to play around this Oriana really heavily in order to take some of these fights. The one thing is they are going to get this Rift Herald to maybe put some additional gold on the map in somebody's hands to start putting some additional pressure somewhere. But 2 dragons now for ISU, as well as their big team fighters still being extremely relevant, isn't really good for the side of AoE Brady.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, AoE Brady kind of in a troublesome spot, I feel like, is the best way to put it. Stridebaker completed for the Olaf there. And you're seeing this Yone's itemizations continuing to get further and further along. Bet AD catching up some trades there. But yeah, this Yone, pretty impressive. The Blitzcrank, the presence of this Blitzcrank has been fantastic.
Blitzenkonken is doing very well this game, being able to be this massive pressure maker across the map. You now see it's an entire flood of bot side here from the side of ISU, so they go with the opposite side play where Clam is looking to make a play on ShamWow. This is a little harder into Vladimir, though.
They are going for it here. They're going to slam down onto the tower. No shockwave needed. Skytech's going to be able to barely survive as well, and that's a kill going over to the Fiora. Beautifully rotated on for that kill on the top side.
Can you observer pop on bot lane real quick? I need to see what the tower plating is actually at right now. Okay.
Clam is getting caught out here, and there it is. That's going to be 2 kills quickly and swiftly picked up as an answer back from ISU. That's big,
okay.
Right?
It's massive. Yeah. So what I was trying to see was like what the tower plating was at to try to see whether or not Disconnector was going to get first tower. He pulled first tower, and they're actually able to defend, so the Rift Herald can't be dropped on top side. They find a couple of kills on top of everything else, which is huge for ISU. They're able to make this bot side rotation faster and use that advanced tempo that they had with all these champions to then defend top side against. Yes, you ended up losing ShamWow in the process, but it doesn't matter. You pick up more kills on the backside. You shut down the Rift Herald usage. You're still up 4,000 gold. And again, this Yone is still picking up a lot of gold. Seraphine's in a lot better place than Disconnector's been the last 2 games, even in game 1 where you're using those big ultimates. It is big right now. Actually playing really well is ISU, being this early game aggressor. Oh no, Skytech.
Yeah, Skytech is getting caught out on these roams now. 0-5-1 here. You hate to see it, but Skytech not having the greatest of times. Rob Bob gets hit by the root there, but the fight is still looking to continue on. Ragnarok has been popped. They're going to be able to hit the encore onto Vets. Beautiful shockwave to be able to hit onto the bottom side of this fight. GFP is going to be able to find the kill onto the Fiora while the Volibear is keeping the rest of the team busy. Vets is trying to lay out the damage. Is going to be able to get it sighted and is going to be fine with that. Clam going to be able to make a sweet escape here. Super Mega Death Rocket going to be able to lay out the damage. Clam is over here. It is going to be Drew Dozer looking for the knockup. Going to be able to get a kill onto Vets, and Robbie Bob is next up on the list. Skytech's going to be able to rejoin the fray. He started this fight off dead, but now he's going to find himself at the end of it going to be dead as well, as that's a triple kill going over to Drew Dozer.
The fight split really horribly for the side of AoE Brady, where both your damage dealers ended up on 1 target, and that caused a lot of strife in this one. This Oriana ultimate was big to start with, and that's what caused Vex and Robbie Bob just to run forward into Nazca and Disconnector. The problem is Gluten-Free Panda and Drew Dozer are just ripping through the other side of the fight right now, already have a kill, had killed Skytech before this, so it's just 2 for 2 at the moment. This Rocket does a good amount, but without Shockwave, there's nothing really too much to do here. So Drew Dozer in this E finds a good kill, finds a second one into Robbie Bob, and then honestly just runs down a a 5-level deficit Skytech on this Thresh, who's just been suffering the majority of the game. All of a sudden, it has been
Drew Dozer!
What do you do? Like, there's nothing to do. No interaction. This champion's busted.
And listen, the only thing you can do is spread the legend of Drew Dozer. The stories will tell of a man who played Vladimir until he finally broke out the Yone and showed everybody exactly what he was going to start dozing. He's just destroying, annihilating these HP bars and KDAs of the AOE members here.
I like to think after the first 2 games, Drew Dozer in like the drafting room, they're like, all right, we have Vladimir for you. And he's like, I'm sick of Vladimir.
I'm done with it. I don't want it anymore. As Drew Dozer is getting hit by 3 people, is looking to try and survive. This isn't going to be able to do just that. ShamWow's going to be able to TP over there into the top side. While this all happens, Orianna gets popped into the mid lane, solidified, looking to try and see what he'll be able to do. ShamWow's going to make out like a bandit inside of the 1v3, finding himself a kill there. Is going to be able to heal up quite a huge amount. Clam is in a troublesome situation. They're going to try and figure out a way to CC this on up. Can he get an empowered Q off? No, he will not. The Encore comes off in the mid lane. Vets is going to be able to dodge that. And it is just going to be a scramble going on across the map.
Incredible 2-for-2 there from AOE Brady to be able to kind of like just eke that one out at the last second. You get a massive shutdown onto Fiora, which is huge for this kind of really heavy scaling Fiora build. This could be problematic now as Drew Dozer is coming in on top of Clam, and it's going to shut down the Rift Herald as well. Probably not going to chase down here. Instead, just going to go for the rest of this. A lot of props here to the side. I got to give a ton of props to Skytech, because Skytech absolutely smurfed that fight. ISU does come out on top because they pull mid tower and they pull Dragon, getting them to solo point. But I do want to give at least a little bit of credit as AOE Brady's not going down without a fight so far. They are in a really, really bad situation right now.
Yeah, it's honestly situation critical. AOE Brady, they fought hard, made a statement in game number 2. In game number 3, it's been turned against them. ISU turning around, making statements of their own. 10-3-2 stands Drew in the mid, and it's just been a tale of Drew Dozer just chalking them off. And here we go. We can just take this on over. Solidified's like, all right, I just want a couple more minions before I go. He's going to parry. It doesn't matter. Flashing away, trying to see if he can do anything with the Grand Challenge. Not going to be able to. Drew Dozer ults in, doesn't connect onto Solidified. Solidified does good to live as long as he does, but now over onto the bot side, ShamWow is the person that's getting jumped onto. Rob seeing if he'll be able to jump in to give a little bit of an assist. They're going to be able to disable the tower, get the stun onto him. Shockwave's going to be able to connect, and ShamWow goes down inside the bot side. But while this is all happening, mid lane, ISU is just yet again putting down the siege. Vets is in a troublesome situation. He's going to find himself putting down the traps at his feet. It's going to be him just laying out the damage. The root comes through. Vets takes a heaping amount of damage. He's got the Ignite that's just ticking away on him. He's just trying to lay on the damage. He's going to be able to do a hero's journey here. He's got the rockets firing away. He's going to get hit by the hook at the end of the day. The lightning's going to be able to come on through. And Vets is going to be able to find the kill. It's Thresh that picks up the kill onto the bat side onto the Seraphine as well. What is happening in this past minute?
I have no clue what that was. That was a bot lane dive into mid tower on top of Vex. Nausicaa just starts with the hook, completely misses it, but it doesn't matter as he's able to find the kill, or Vex is able to find the kill. Now another invade, force attack.
I feel like anytime Drew Dozer is in, it starts becoming commentary and it starts becoming a eulogy for whoever Drew Dozer has put his sights onto there.
I agree with that, yes. The solo push on mid tower was a bit over aggressive, only because they had thrown 2 members from AoE Brady into bot side. So then they were like, okay, we have plenty of space to work mid lane. Vex clears the wave really well, gets 2 kills back. That is a kill that goes to Drew Dozer. This is also very fierce. So,
yeah, here we go. The eulogy has begun yet again, but Vex is going to be able to live to tell the tale there.
Yep. Drew Dozer, no ultimate, not able to get that one, so just gets the knock-up, can't find too much more damage, just out of range of the likes of the Qs, so they're just going to use this to their advantage. Rift Herald was also taken by Gluten-Free Panda, so they have that one available to bust down some more towers, as lead has grown. It's 6,000 still here for the side of ISU. It's not like the most ridiculous last game. I think we saw somewhere in the realm of like 10,000 at this point for the side of AoE Brady, but ISU is playing this early game immaculately. They have every win condition in their back pocket. Fiora is not anywhere near being like just capable of solo carrying the game, but just completely taking down every tower. It is huge pretty much across the board from the side of ISU.
Well, you see, they're trying to set up a play over here in the top side. They're looking for the 3-man onto this. They're trying to bodyguard for this Fiora. Like, come on, Fiora, you can get 1 tower. You got this.
I know. Instead, they're just going to start Baron. Yeah, they don't care. Even if she gets
care.
Hey, why would they care? It's like, okay, Fiora, take 2 towers. Why not? We'll just take the entire base with Baron. Like, it's not.
They sniff it out a little bit too late.
Now Drew Dozer just wants the smoke. Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, Drew Dozer, this is not the smoke you want to be able to grab here. That's the ultimate coming through, and a kill that goes over to the Fiora. Vets is in a troublesome situation. The flash forward comes through, but yet again, the fancy footwork is going to be able to aid him just right. The rest of the team is coming over. They're looking to jump in there. Vets is eventually going to find himself falling on down. Now it is a 4v4, and AOE says, all right, let's reposition for this.
Pushing mid lane, pushing bot lane, you have the Baron buff, you're going to be able to grab the Mountain Soul. All of a sudden, fights just look completely in your favor if they aren't already completely in your favor. Maybe it will open up True Dozer to just go backline in every single fight the way that he's wanted to before. They do find Shutdown a couple of times here, which is pretty much the only thing keeping AoE Brady even slightly relevant in this game, is that Robbie Bob has 6 kills, and that Shockwave is really impactful when you're able to get it into a right situation. But so far, their win conditions just are not anywhere near developed enough to try to make plays into the likes of ISU. That's why you see right now the AoE Brady is pushing into this jungle to put down some vision. They're cycling off. They're making sure red buff's going to go over whatever. They really just want some presence in this river, maybe to look to contest around a neutral objective where the Shockwave is going to be the most valuable. But even that, I doubt, is going to end up being too much. They also didn't get very much division down because SkyTech wasn't there, so it's just a one control ward.
Oh, no, Clam. He is in a troublesome spot. Vision is going to spot him out. Not going to get hit by the axes there. Does need to get onto all fours and get out a dodge. Hook not going to be able to connect. And that is going to be good for him. Oh, man, this is getting to be a nail biter around this soul point here for the Mountain Trade. Both these teams wanting to duke it out. This could be the fight that decides it all.
Good. Looking for the team fight. Shockwave is
big ult! He's going to be able to get on the Vets. Vets is going to get shut down. Drew Dozer is going to be taken out of the fight as well, but the rest of the team of AoE is getting routed. ShamWow's in the pool. He is going to be able to lay out the damage, and that's going to be all she wrote. ISU is going to be able to pick up the dub here with this Drake, it seems like, and they just secured themselves a hefty lead, and they're going to be able to take quite a bit of advantages here.
That they will. The one benefit, again, Yone ended up getting shut down, so that's more gold back into the pocket of AoE Brady. But losing that for the side of AoE Brady means that Mountain Soul is going to be pretty much guaranteed wins, because how do you burn through Mountain Soul and Seraphine and all the sustain that's already inside of an Immortal Shield bow Yone and inside of an Olaf and inside of a Vladimir? That you just can't. You can't break that pretty much ever. Vex isn't anywhere near strong enough to be able to actually work his way through these teams fast enough with the damage that he's got currently, not even on 2 completed items yet. And that Shockwave, when it hits, it does a lot, but it's not enough to solo carry the game right now, as it seems like ISU is just looking to try to close this one out. How fast they do it might be indicative of at least a little bit of the cleanliness of their play, because I think they could do it in one swift movement if they really wanted to with what they've got on the map right now, but it probably takes them until next Baron to really solidify exactly like just the taking of the Nexus. But so far, it feels like the swan song is here right now, and AoE Brady is on the receiving end of it.
Yeah, Brady is in a troublesome situation. True Dozer, yet again, looking for their aggression. The TP coming in. Everybody surrounding. Solidified. ShamWow in the bat side, and Solidify will go down there. And I don't know. They might not wait until the Nets Baron here.
Yeah, like I said, if they play it perfectly, that they absolutely can close right now. They've got more than enough to close right now. But I was expecting that.
That's got knocked up. The Lantern is going to be able to give him some safety. It's going to be Clam going down. Encore not going to be able to hit anybody on that. But Vets is taking a hard amount of damage from ShamWow. He's trying to kite it back, but the damage is there. They secure it. That is going to be the ace. ISU, your reigning defending champs here in the UPL, are going to remain undisputed, and they're going to be able to carry on their winning ways, going 4-0 so far in the UPL season.
Yeah, and I think at absolute best right now, AoE Brady could tie their record, and that's about as good as you could do. So at minimum, they're going to be just about in playoffs, if not like very close or locked for playoffs after this one mathematically, kind of depending on what the rest of the league does. And one more win will certainly secure them into one of those top spots, if not just the top spot within their division. So ISU, reigning champions, fantastic team. They came out with a substitute jungler and made some really incredible things happen today.
Yeah, honestly, it was just fantastic, really and truly, and a treat for our eye holes. Rebel, that was a fantastic series to be able to cast, and honestly was a great series, and both these teams showed, hey, we're both playoff calibers. This is 2 teams that we could possibly see in the very near future.
props to the stylistic differences, my apologies, that we saw through the day, because it takes quite a bit to be able to actually change very heavily throughout all those games. And that's something we saw where, like, in game one, it looked very good in the 5-on-5 for the likes of ISU. Game two was the huge early game, the shift of the Galio here from the side of AOE Brady that made this into a very close series. Those early games were really good. And then as ISU shifted into an early game, when they were able to make plays, even without Hyper being in, when it was gluten-free Panda, still able to find a bunch of advantages, try to shut Vex down on the bottom side of the map, and able to take things away. So it was a big props again. Both sides had a lot of adaptation. ISU did some really good things. I do applaud the early game from the side of AOE Brady, being able to take that one against one of our top teams in the league, but ISU ultimately comes out ahead because of just how good that they are. I'm expecting big things from them coming into playoffs. They got a lot of competition this year, and I can't wait to see what they've got in store for us.
Both these teams looking so freaking good, but ISU just a little bit better at this time around. That being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for us on the casting desk. We're going to go ahead and send this over to our analyst desk to close us on out. Gentlemen, take it away.
Thank you, Travesty and Rebel Fox. Welcome back to the desk, everybody. What a series, huh, gentlemen? Well, first, let's get one thing out of the way. Hyper, if you could bring up the predictions right below us real quick, just so we can affirm yet again what's happening. Thank you. And Beatdown, what was the score for tonight? Just let me know.
It was 2-1.
And what do I have right here?
1-2.
Okay, all right, okay. One of you wise guys, sure, whatever. But at the day, bro, we all know who came out on top. It's gonna be me yet again, bro. I just don't lose, and I'm looks like neither does Judozer because he just gets 4 to 5 to 10 different kills in the early game for some particular reason, Beatdown.
Well, I mean, the main particular reason is, like Koskinen says, ISU doing what ISU do best, and it's making you fight them for virtually nothing. And I say virtually because, of course, in some people's eyes, those Raptor camps are very, very important. So much so that you will walk into the already 3-0 Yone and turn him into a 5-0 Yone. And it just gets to this point where they're fighting over and over again on the side of AOE. And I don't know, like you blink a couple of times and suddenly Yone's 14-2.
And just like that, suddenly you think like, hey, we can bring this back, right? But then, you donate ults from a bush, immediately ease back, and then you just have this like red death mark over your head thinking, I'm going to be fine, right? No, you're wrong. It won't be fine, which is why, for that reason, our MVP is not Drew Dozer, but it is going to be Disconnector. And we say this because, like, Koskinen, we were started before, man. Game number 1, I think, was a real decider for me, because almost single-handedly winning every single team fight for ISU.
Yeah, I gotta say, Disconnector played incredibly well throughout the entire series. I don't think there was a specific game that he held his team back. Game 1, they I think it was like a cooperative effort between him and Nausicaa where they lost the lane a bit hard. But like every team fight, he came up clutch. I don't think they were I think I saw like maybe one missed ult in like 3 games. And like his ults were super impactful every game. He was super consistent laning, high CS. And so yeah, I think that's the main reason he gets MVP. He just played really well all 3 games, especially when he's playing Seraphine, ADC, all 3, instead of like his signature Ezreal or maybe like a Jinx where he like gets a pop off. It was just very stable, very consistent, great team fighting, great positioning. So yeah, I do think ISU definitely deserved that game 3 win. There's always that scary factor of Drew Dozer on Yone getting 300 kills in a game. I've seen it happen before, and I'm sure I'll see it happen again, even against really good teams. Sometimes he just goes full solo kill Yone on you, and there's really not a lot you could do once they start racking up these kills. AoE did not play well around the fact that ISU is super scrappy. They will just be like, let's bring 5 people top to fight for Krugs and Raptors. And then AoE brings 5 people top to fight for Krugs and Raptors. And I'm just like, there's no objective. Repaired's gone. What are you fighting for? And then Yone is like,
it's Raptors, bro. It's the Raptors.
So yeah, they definitely got sucked into the pace of ISU, which they did a really good job at maintaining. Super high tempo, super like fighting for every single objective, fighting for every single mini school amount of CS, teleporting across the map with all 3 teleports. So yeah, they definitely know how to really pressure a team, and I guarantee you AoE had no space to breathe there. They were like super scared. They were forcing these fights like, let's take them. And they didn't realize if they just toned it back a little bit, stepped off the gas, say, okay, let's do these lane assignments. Let's just eat CS. Let's chill out. We got Oriana's like 6 kills. let Solidified play his good matchup. Let Jinx get her items. Maybe they could have played the game a lot better. But yeah, they definitely lacked the discipline to realize what was happening.
Yeah, definitely. With that being said, right, it's just ISU now yet again maintain their undefeated streak with the UPL, and naturally saw those quite back and forth for a couple of these games, right? We see them come out yet again because they didn't pick Vladimir mid. Although they still had it in the game, they picked a different mid lane champion, and thank you for doing so. I knew you guys would make the right decision and eventually pick a different type of comp that y'all had in your mind. So shout out to ISU and GG's to both those teams for some great games tonight. I do want to thank you, Costa, for coming on the desk with us. Of course, Pizza Boulevard, my main man beside me, bro. Appreciate you as always. Of course, our casters, right? Rebel Fox and Travesty and Hates Me, along with Hypertexture, for make us always look good. And thank you all for watching. We'll be back with more Upsurge Premier League next week, Thursday, with the banger matchup. You will not want to miss it. So until then, y'all take care. Peace.